Happy Thanksgiving to everyone watching the show. Welcome to the Week 13 NFL picks against the spread. Our initial show for the Week 13 NFL picks. We're going to get into everything and intro our co-host for tonight. Before we do, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, I'm wearing something from the merch store. It is our famous money laundering t-shirt, which I always get great feedback for whenever I wear this shirt. Including in when I was in Las Vegas, some guy that just randomly ran up to me and hugged me, and then some woman asked me, "Oh, where do you do your money laundering?" I'm like, "Well, I can't tell you, so otherwise I'll get in trouble." But you can get that as well as every other T-shirt.
And I thought you were going to say some woman ran up to you and hugged you while her husband picked your pocket.
Maybe that
it
happened.
Las Vegas.
Yeah. It is. That's true. Yeah, that could have happened, and I guess I probably should figure out if that happened or not. But you can get that shirt as well as everything else. Here you can see it, 20% off sale. You can get it in hoodie. I actually have it in hoodie as well. Long sleeve T-shirt.
Is that 20% off the price or 20% off the fabric?
Well,
in other words, I think I'm getting a long sleeve, but it's actually a shirt sleeve because it's 20% off.
That's interesting, actually. I wonder how they would do that. I know it's the price, but maybe it's the fabric as well. Maybe we should ask Zazzle here how they do it. But yeah. So anyway, we have our mugs. We have our famous apron. We have baseball cap. You can do that. Go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one's Jerks to the College Years, where I made fun of people I saw at Penn State. It's there for 6 years, so I had a lot of writing material. My first book is A Safety and a Field Goal, which is a top 5 topic book about the NFL. Mostly serious stuff, but some fun stuff as well. And also, please consider super chats and super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. We had a super chat from Kevin Kovac yesterday. Thanks again, as always, Kevin, and everyone else, Slew, and everyone else who's helped us over the weeks and the years to keep the show going. So we're joined tonight by Andy Iskoe from thelogicalapproach.com. Andy, how are you, and how's your week 12?
Choppy. Week 12 was choppy. I guess maybe I'm a little choppy today as well, getting ready for imbibing of some turkey and other spirits. But that was an up and down week. My top play of the week ended up being the Cleveland Browns. I think we talked about that game at length, and I think we both agreed that, well, I don't know, should the Raiders be favored? Certainly not by more than a field goal or whatever. And I was not shocked that they won the game outright. It pretty much went along the way that I thought it would. I did not expect Chip Kelly to be fired as offensive coordinator after the game, but that was certainly understandable considering the lack of offense and apparently some disagreements philosophically wise with Coach Pete Carroll. But, we've been saying it all year. That offensive line of the Raiders has been, horrible all year. And there were no signs of any improvement. Now, you can sometimes blame injuries, but there were some players who haven't been injured, and they're showing no progress. And, I don't know if you blame the offensive coordinator for that specific issue, because that's really the offensive line coach who should be able to work on technique and timing and leverage and things like that. The offensive coordinator oversees those position coaches, but the offensive coordinator is basically saying, okay, what kind of game plan do we want to use? How do we want to execute it? What order do we want to run plays and things like that? When do we want to use motion? Things like that. But as far as offensive line play, I would think that's more the purview of the offensive line coach.
Yeah, and but Chip Kelly I don't think was doing a good job, but on the other hand, he wasn't really. He was dealt this hand, and the Raiders had a plan to draft Armand Membu, the right tackle, at 6, and then take an Ohio State running back in the second round because they played under Chip Kelly. Instead, they changed their minds in the last 48 hours, and they took Ashton Genty instead, which turned out to be a huge mistake because why would you draft a running back when you have no offensive line?
And had they drafted one of the other running backs you mentioned in the second round, it would have been the same problem if they did not address that first round pick on Genty. Instead, on an offensive lineman, you might be looking at, I'm not going to go so far as to say a rookie of the year candidate, but you would certainly look at more productivity with at least one blocker ahead of him, maybe even 2 that they could have picked up.
Yeah, Membu's been incredible for the Jets this year. So, I mean, you've said it multiple times. The Raiders are the worst offensive line you've seen since you started handicapping info. Yeah.
Which is probably, if I go back literally to when I was a kid and didn't know what I was doing, other than point spreads and all that. And we didn't have the advanced analytics or even a lot of the, remember, those are the days before we had even personal computers with spreadsheets and databases, things like that. but that goes back about literally almost 60 years.
We're using the turtle, like the up 60, right 30. I remember doing that when I was in grade school. The old the Apple turtle. It was a lot
Well,
of fun.
I don't know about the Apple Turtle, but because I was I think my first computer was an Apple II Plus, but that was like
Okay.
1980, and I was already well onto a career
Yeah,
out of college and everything.
I think that's what we were using in grade school when I was 1989 or so, second grade. Yeah, we had to use the turtle to move around. I don't know why. I don't know what purpose it served, but that's what we had when I was 7 years old in second grade. So that's in our computer class. All right, so yeah, we have 16 games to get through. So might as well start.
So we should
diving
be
in.
able to complete it in under 5 hours.
I would think so. I have faith that we could do it in under 5.
I think we can do it in under 3 tonight.
All right. We'll see if we can get that goal. All right, let's start with Packers at the Lions. This line was Lions -3, moved to 2.5. Now it's backed up to 3 in some places. Still 2.5 at DraftKings. As you can see on the screen here, Hard Rock. So you have your choice basically. Josh Jacobs is going to play. That's big news for the Packers. The Lions have some offensive line concerns. Graham Glasgow's injured. He's not going to play. Frank Ragnow is going to return, but not ready for this game. And then a couple guys questionable: Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell. I assume that they're going to play. I was going to be in the Packers, and I'll say this because Evan is not going to be able to talk about these games tomorrow. Well, we can talk about the results, but not handicap these games
unless he's watching now and chimes in.
That's true. I don't know what he's doing right now, but Evan, if you want to chime in, we had
Evan, if you are listening, your pick is in. Well, I sent it by email. His Survivor pick is in for the Week 13 Part A, Thursday, Friday.
Are you allowed to say who he picked? I mean, he's going to tell us anyway. I don't even know if you remember, but
no, I do remember because I think he is the only client for that contest.
Okay.
Survivor. I've got one also for the Westgate Survivor, the high end one. Not the high end at Grandissimo, but a $5,000 fee at Westgate.
Okay. Well, he could tell us if he wants to, or if he's on here or tomorrow. Or
well, you got 8 teams to choose from tomorrow.
Okay. I thought you assumed. I thought you were talking about the Sunday slate as well. Okay. Yeah.
No. In the Westgate Survivor, my guy does not have the Thanksgiving split week restriction. That contest, if it goes the distance, runs 18 weeks. Unlike if Circus Survivor goes the distance, that's a 20-week contest because Thanksgiving is Part A, Part B, and Christmas week is Part A, Part B.
Yeah, the contest we run on our site is 18 weeks as well. And we do for the tiebreaker, we do point differential of all the games picked. But I think.
Oh, you mean of the teams that you pick? In other words, you add up 18 numbers.
Yes.
Based upon when I picked the Rams, they won by 20. When I picked the Seahawks, they won by 3, etc., etc.
Right. Exactly. That's
if like 5 people tie at the end. How many years have you been running the contest?
At least 10. I think the first year was 2012. I want to say.
How many times have you had a single winner? And when a single winner, I mean one person at the end of the contest, whether it ended in 13 weeks or the full 17 weeks back, when they had the 16 game schedule, and you didn't have to split it or you didn't have to go to a tiebreaker.
I'll have to ask my developer. Dennis runs it, so I'll have to ask him for sure. But I know we've had some years that a few people have gone the distance, and we had to do the tiebreaker.
How many entries have you roughly had on a given year basis?
I don't know about this year, but I remember years where we had like about 1,200 or so.
1,200 is probably a decent enough number that you might get 2 to 4 people going the distance.
Yeah, I remember one year we had week 13 was the winner. It's a bunch of eliminations. But some years we've had multiple people go the distance, so we've had to do the tiebreaker, and we never had a tiebreaker for the tiebreaker, which I forget what that is exactly, but we had that as well.
So in other words, if they both ended with a margin of 207 points,
yes,
you'd still have a further tiebreaker.
Yeah, we had one. I think there's one more in place, and it depended on.
I'll tell you what the tiebreaker should be right now.
Okay.
If it gets to that.
Yeah.
And you might still need another time. Whoever won the most one-score games. In other words, the one that had to sweat the most.
Oh, okay, that'd be a good one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what it.
And
I forget what it
in
is. But,
fact, you can get them a sweater as a secondary gift for having survived with the most sweats to even get by in a tiebreaker.
That'd be fine. Well, on the rare occasions that happens, maybe we'll have to do it. There's no sweater in the merch store, but maybe we'll do one.
There will be.
Right now, yeah, exactly. So I think Evan took the Eagles of the Thanksgiving slate. Yeah. So I remember him telling us. So anyway, so we have this game here. My point in bringing up Evan was we discussed these games in regard to like whether we should submit early, and we decided not to because we disagreed on 2 of the games. And so what's the point?
Let me know as we go along. Let me know the 2 that you and Evan disagreed on.
Well, this is the first one. Evan liked the Lions. I like the Packers. I don't love the Packers. I just like that they've kind of owned the Lions when they've been healthy. Now, when Jordan Love's been banged up, like the first meeting last year, the Lions won comfortably. Second meeting, the Lions also won by 3, but they were the much better team last year. Otherwise, the Packers have won these matchups, including this year in Week 1. And I just go back to Jared Goff really struggling when pressured. That he just becomes a completely different quarterback. And we know the Packers can get after the quarterback with Micah Parsons and all their other guys on the defensive front. They have not quite lived up to their preseason billing when they traded for Parsons, but they're still ranked 10th defensively. So I think they should be able to pressure the Lions enough.
What metric do you use for their 10th ranking? Is it a simple one or one of the constructed ones?
That's the EPA.
Okay.
EPA. Yeah. So they are 10th. They're actually 10th since October 1st. So
because it's interesting if you use the metric of yards per game, they're number 4. If you use the metric of points allowed, and again, there are weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses of all of them. They're 5th defensively, which is very nice. And let me see, yards per play. Defensively, they're 2nd. Yards per play differential, they're 5th. So yeah, they have some very good defense. Not that Detroit is bad, but they're not at the level. No, like yards per play differential, they're both 1.0, but when you carry it out to a little bit of a fraction, Green Bay is 5th, Detroit is 4th. Even if you take a look at the regular metrics, there's a little bit of there's an edge. Green Bay in yards is 4th, Detroit is 10th, and then 5th and 12th as far as points allowed. And one of the advantages, they're both pretty good. One's +4 in turnover margin, one's +5 in turnover margin. Both teams are good against the rush, but the weakness for Green Bay is they don't run the ball.
Right. Well, the weakness for Green Bay is they don't run the ball.
Well, the weakness for the weakness about Green Bay's offense, they're both very good defending the run. I think Green Bay. Green Bay allows. I'm just on again the yards per game. They allow 96. Detroit allows 102. Pretty close. Yeah. Offensively, Green Bay gains 115 or 116, which is 15th, middle of the pack. In fact, it's exactly the league average right now.
Okay.
And Detroit is number 3 at 140 yards per game. That's a significant difference. But again, looking at yards per rush, it's a bigger difference. 5.1 for Detroit, and Gibbs probably got half of those yards on his performance last week. And 4.0 average gain for Green Bay. The league average is 4.3, and they're both excellent defensively with an identical 3.9 yards per rush. So depending upon the metric that you use, it does give Green Bay the advantage defensively, but not as wide as a lot of people might think.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think more recently the Lions have struggled, defensively.
Yeah.
The Giants game, for example, they couldn't stop a Jameis Winston offense with Isaiah Hodgins.
Yeah, but you also have Green Bay against the Packers.
Green Bay against the Packers.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, not Green. Against the Cowboys.
Oh yeah. Well,
see, the thing is, when we make points about these teams, we're selecting them. And we have to take a look at the other side as well, that all these teams are going to have good games and bad games. It's just which teams have more good games and which games can win and which teams can win when they play poorly. Like, for example, Kansas City didn't play poorly last week. We'll talk about them in a moment, but they should have had more points than the statistics would lead you to believe.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, the Lions, I think more recently have struggled against the pass. Winston threw all over them last week,
Yeah.
with terrible receivers too. Like they were not going against the Malik Neighbors or anything like that. It was Isaiah Hodgins and Waddell Robinson meeting them, and this has kind of been a trend for Detroit recently. I mean they lost to Minnesota too. So it feels like they are getting worse here, and the Packers, I think, could potentially beat them again.
I think they're going through a mid-season slump of sorts, which they really can't afford to do, considering where they are in the standings.
That's fair. So, yeah, I'm going to side the Packers here. We had a question from Slew, and they're going to wonder what Walter Football's record is on betting in Packers games this season. I don't know if Slew knew this, but you can go to the picks page, and if you scroll to the bottom, you can see on the screen here all my records in picking games this year for teams. Packers not good, 2-8. Lions though 6-5. So yeah, so I have not read the Packers well.
Now that does raise the question though. Does that mean you should avoid the Packers because you're having such poor results with them, or you're due to regress to the mean because you've had your losing ways and now you may have a better feel? I'm not. I would almost think it would be the first, that you might want to avoid them, because sometimes you end up playing mind games which say, you know what, I haven't done well with the Packers. I like them here, but I haven't done well, so maybe I'll go the other way and be correct, as opposed to I haven't changed anything. The Packers show up as a play according to steps A, B, C, and D, and they show up as a play here, and eventually they're going to play according to the way that they should play.
Yeah, I mean, I bet them as big favorites a bunch of times this year and been disappointed every single time. And then the one time I don't bet them as a big favorite last week, they covers -6.5. So yeah. they've perplexed me quite a bit. So maybe I shouldn't bet on them very much. But I still like the Packers. What do you think?
Well, that covering the 6.5 tells you more about Minnesota and McCarthy than it does the Packers.
That could certainly be true. All right, so who do you like in this game?
I'm with Evan. I like Detroit. This is a game I think they've pointed to since the beginning of the season. If you go back to the start of the season or preseason, it was thought that the NFC North would be a three-team race between Green Bay, Detroit, and Minnesota. It turns out now that replaced Minnesota with Chicago. They're looking, so both Green Bay and Detroit are looking up at Chicago. Now, Green Bay still has to play Chicago twice. Detroit has already beaten Chicago badly, even though it was back in week 2 of the season. It was Johnson's second game as coach, as I recall. I think it was, 52-21 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But in any way, Chicago's a much better team than they were back then, which could be negative for Green Bay because Green Bay still has to face them twice. Detroit just has to face them once, even though that, I believe, is on the road. When I look, however, at Green Bay and Detroit, Green Bay actually went off a 1-point favorite in that opening week game against Detroit. I think Detroit opened the small favorite, and the money came in on Green Bay, and that turned out to be the correct move. Now, the tie with Dallas. Let me see here right now. Get the papers in order here. This is an important game for both teams, but especially for Detroit, who's, I think, are they the number 3 wild card right now? Or are they still on the outside? I think they may be the 4th in the wild card race.
Yeah, they're outside right now.
Okay. Yeah. The Packers are 7-3-1. Detroit is 7-4. So the Packers have a half-game lead over the Lions. Okay. Mm-hmm. If Detroit wins this game, they will have evened the season series, and they will then be playing the rest of the season with a half-game lead over Green Bay. Now, it questions what happens with Chicago. Can Detroit surpass or catch or surpass Chicago over what would then be the final 5 weeks of the season? Although they could pick up a game this week because Chicago is an underdog at Philadelphia on Friday. So it's an important game. I mean, it's obviously an important game for Green Bay to maintain their lead and possibly keep pace or pick up a game on Chicago, depending upon what the Bears do. On the other hand, Detroit can then make up for all the things that have gone wrong and actually control their own destiny vis-a-vis Green Bay with a win tomorrow. And I think they've been looking towards this game since that first game of the season when they sort of got a wake-up call. They ended last season with that bad taste in their mouth from the rout against at the hands of the Commanders, which was, of course, due mostly to the injuries that Detroit had, especially on defense, because Detroit gave up all those points, and I don't think they would have given up half that many if they were fully healthy. Nonetheless, when I look at, again, the advantage that I showed Detroit having is a much better running game. I mean, you got Gibbs, you got Montgomery. Goff, of course, performs better at home than in the elements, and he's been having a really, really solid year. What do you have, those 20 straight completions a few weeks ago or something like that? Or I forget what it was. I know Love, I think, had that.
Yeah, Love had it against Pittsburgh.
That was against Pittsburgh in the, I think, the Sunday night game.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at what these teams do, both teams are very good at avoiding turnovers. Green Bay's lost 7 all season. That's number 2. I do it on a per game, number lost per basis, rather than raw numbers, because they've played a different number of games for at least the next couple of weeks, so the buys are over. Green Bay's turned it over 7 times. Detroit's turned it over 8 times. Conversely, the defenses, Green Bay's forced 11 takeaways, and Detroit 13. So one is +4, the other is +5. Not much of a difference there. The rushing, as I pointed before, is a big advantage for Detroit. The passing numbers, pass defensive numbers in the yards per game favors Green Bay defensively, favors Detroit by a little bit less than that margin offensively. So I think the running game and the problem, and I'll be interested to see what Detroit's game plan is, how they split the running between Montgomery and Gibbs. I have to believe that Green Bay will be more concerned right now with Gibbs than with Montgomery. So if you have them both in the backfield at the same time, you can do a lot of play action, a lot of faking and things like that, that Goff would be able to do to see which way initially the defense is leaning or the defense reacts. And, do I give it to the guy standing right beside me, or do I give it to the guy running behind me to my left, because they're moving a little bit to the right, the defense is. So I like the situation for Detroit. I like, obviously both teams are shorthanded offensively because Laporta and Kraft, the 2 tight ends, one Detroit and one Green Bay, out for the season. So I don't know how that will affect the play calling, but I do think that Detroit still has a few more reliable options in the offensive game plan than does Detroit. Another thing I like to look at is yards per pass completion. Offensively, they're both the same, 11.3, which is a little bit above the league average. Green Bay does have a significant advantage defensively, however, allowing 9 yards per completion. The league average is 10.9, and Detroit is allowing 11.8. So that is an advantage for Green Bay, and especially if they fall behind and they have to resort to the passing game. But they might come out passing anyway, depending upon what Detroit does. So I think the number is relatively short. My power ratings actually have Detroit by about 5.5, so I can lay 3 or less.
Interesting. Evan also said that this line is too short. For me, I made Detroit -1.5. I have these teams rated evenly, so I think that would be the difference there. Combined with the Packers, tendency to play well against Detroit. That's why I took them for a small bet, not anything substantial.
Well, remember, for many, 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 many years, everybody played well against Detroit. It's only been the last 3 years that Detroit has been a team that has drawn the serious attention of upcoming opponents.
Oh yeah, I meant the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love specifically.
With Jordan Love, yeah.
Against Detroit. And the Lions, by the way, have not played well on Thanksgiving. Obviously, as you said, they've been bad for many years, but in the Dan Campbell, Jared Goff era, they're 1-3 straight up, 2-2 against the spread.
And they could have lost. They arguably should have lost last year, but for Chicago's game management.
Yeah, and then they'd be 0-4 straight up on Thanksgiving. Yeah. So I don't know. For some reason, they just haven't played better on Thanksgiving. I thought with this new era of being a better team, I thought they played better, but they haven't done that yet. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe they'll do that.
Well,
tomorrow.
I think also a lot of it, the opponent knows that, unlike even a Monday night game or a Sunday night game, it's Thanksgiving. Everybody is watching them, whether they're eating turkey or getting ready to eat turkey.
That's true.
In other words, even the casual fan is probably watching it. It's probably been a family tradition in many, many households. You're not going out for whatever stores are open for Black Thursday, I guess it would be. And it's a day for the family to get together, relax, and go out and shoot hoops at halftime of these games. And the point is that the opposition going into Detroit knows that pretty much, because especially it's the early game, so people even on the East Coast are not really eating at that point. They're watching football, and so now it's a little different when they're, because those are more regionalized audiences. But even when you're playing a weak team, the weak team gets up, because in a number of instances, it's the only time they're going to be seen by the nation.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Chase said they got dominated by the Packers on Thanksgiving recently. I think, yeah, that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was a big Christian Watson game from Jordan Love.
Yeah.
That's one that the Packers are great down the stretch, and then they lost Watson, but they still got to the second round of the playoffs. They beat Dallas that year, and then they lost to the 49ers in a close game. All right, let's get to the next game, which is Chiefs-Cowboys. This is the other game Andy and Evan and I disagreed on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so again, I'm not big on this one, especially when it was 3.5. But Chiefs minus
so
3.
you got the disagreements out of the way early, meaning that there was no reason to play any of the certainly those two games, and then these two games are arguably, in the point spread indicates it, more attractive from an aesthetic standpoint than the Cincinnati-Baltimore, where you don't know when you're going to get almost from either team, but certainly Burrow, and the Chicago-Philadelphia team, where you don't know how Philadelphia's going to react off that.
And
happy birthday, Evan.
Yeah,
happy Thanksgiving, rather.
Thanksgiving. We have the same birthday. So if you said happy birthday to him, you'd have to say it to me. Evan says, happy Thanksgiving, my friend. I've been meaning to come in for the start of the show tonight because I want to be able to make the case in the early games. Evan, we actually.
Well, I agree with you, Evan, on the Detroit game.
Yes, he says Detroit wins easy. I believe in the revenge spot from week 1. Walt says no revenge. Yeah, I don't think it's a revenge spot. I mean, it's both these teams are going to be highly motivated. It'd be one thing if, for example, the Packers were like way ahead in the standings against Detroit, and maybe they took them for granted here, or if they were just like a 4-8 team that had no chance of the playoffs. But this is a huge game for both teams. I was going to say
it's huge for both, but I think it's bigger. Well, I'm not going to say for Detroit, because if Detroit does what I think they're going to do, then it hurts Green Bay. The point is that there was a lot of thought coming into the season that this would be a game to determine the leader, if not the winner, of the NFC North. Well, you got Chicago in that position right now. We don't know what's going to happen with Chicago going forward. They may end up continuing to win, or they may end up regressing a little bit. And the winner of this game may end up winning the division. And the fact that Green Bay has that one tie, as I said earlier, gives the Packers a 1/2 game lead. Now, the reason why that's important to both teams is that if Green Bay wins this game, they're now up by 1.5 on Detroit. And let's say that Chicago ends up winning the division, or even makes it as a wild card. It's unlikely that 3 teams from this division can make it as a wild card. Okay, so basically, if Detroit wins, but it's if Detroit wins, they now have even the season series. So that's no longer a tiebreaker, but they would be a half game ahead of Green Bay. Should it come down to, well, you wouldn't be able to break a tiebreaker, but if Detroit is 8-8 and 8-8-1, and if Green Bay is 8-8-1 and Detroit is 9-8, Detroit gets the tiebreaker edge.
Yeah. Well,
because if they lose this game, they're 1.5 games behind Green Bay, and realistically, Detroit would be looking at being one of the wild cards, but behind Green Bay in the pecking order of the 3 wild cards, whether it be 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about the tiebreaker here unless Detroit also gets a tie.
Gets a tie, yeah.
Right. Winner of this game wins the division. IMO. Yeah, I probably.
Yeah, I agree. Also.
I don't think so. Unless Minnesota comes roaring back with Brosmer. No, I'm just kidding. One of the disagreements was power ratings. I have Detroit 5, Green Bay 12. I have them very close together. I have Detroit.
In the I hate Seattle, where they're ranked ratings. I have Green Bay 12th and Detroit 6th.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're about so
very close.
Yeah, I have them very close. I have them close.
And I still have Seattle 2nd, but I do have the margin between them and the Rams growing a little bit. But Seattle is closer to being ranked 3rd than they are to being ranked 1st.
So Evan says I think this line should be 3 or maybe 3.5. I don't see why. Like, what has Detroit done to justify that? Like you guys both have Detroit ahead of Green Bay in your rankings, but Andy, you read off a bunch of stats before when you started talking, and Green Bay was ahead of Detroit in most of those stats.
Well, defensively they were, but not offensively.
Right. Okay.
And in the one matchup that I mentioned that both have very good defense against the run. The problem is Green Bay can't really run. They're basically league average, and Detroit is what I say. I think third overall at like 140 yards a game.
Yeah, I think Green Bay can run with Jacobs, but what has Green Bay done? They've done the same thing as Detroit. That's why I have them even. Like, I'm not saying Green Bay's better than Detroit. I have them like ranked.
We'll
even.
find out maybe next week. See if Detroit plays Dallas to a tie.
That'd be fun.
That's who they play next week.
Yeah. What's Green Bay's best win besides Detroit? Well, I mean, I don't know if you can dismiss that, but what is Green Bay's best win? Let's look up.
Well, I don't know. Detroit did not lose to Carolina or Cleveland.
Yeah, it's true, but they almost lost to the Giants last week.
But they didn't.
Overtime.
But they did. Although we can talk about that, the Giants should have gone for the field goal. I said it at the time. Get up by 6, make Detroit go the length of the field in 2 minutes, and beat you with a touchdown, as opposed to sending the game into overtime.
Yeah, I don't think any of these teams have good wins, except for Green Bay's win over Detroit. What's Green Bay's best win? Maybe week 2 against Jane Daniels. But that's the Thursday game.
Well, that was a good win. No, that was a good win. But what was their best win after weeks 2? Remember, at the end after that week 2 Thursday night win, Green Bay's your Super Bowl favorite now in the NFC, because they had just beaten the high-powered Detroit on their home field on grass and whatever else they were smoking. And then they went out on Washington and won that game rather easily as well. And really, they were in about a month and a half long funk where they really were very, very mediocre. And, I think that's when they had the loss to Cleveland, followed by the Carolina loss 3 weeks later or something like that. So I just take a look at the game with I feel more comfortable backing Campbell, even with his crazy decision-making that probably cost him that Philadelphia game a couple of Mondays ago, than LaFleur.
Sue says, I think LaFleur has Campbell's number. I think that might be true. Both teams have similar resumes. Both have bad losses or bad wins. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think both teams are even. I really don't see a difference between the two. Detroit better offense, Green Bay better defense. That seems like an even matchup. I think that's why I made the line 1.5. But the reason why I picked Green Bay with a slight comp, not crazy amounts. Like, I don't love this game. It's just because Green Bay has done very well against Detroit. And also Detroit has an abysmal track record on Thanksgiving. So maybe they turn around here. They could certainly win. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, but I think these teams are even. So that's why I made the line 1.5. Detroit 27-23, 27-24. Bet accordingly. Green Bay without Kraft is a big loss. Well, but
Laporte is a big loss for the Lions.
Yeah, I agree. And Christian Watson's getting healthier each week, and this will not matter for this game. But Jaden Reed should be back next week, so that will help them a lot. All right, let's just go saying, well, we're going to touch Giants Patriots maybe in like 3 hours. But the second Thanksgiving game is Chiefs at Cowboys. I believe this is the second disagreement Evan and I had. Evan, you can maybe correct me if I'm wrong. But so the Chiefs are -3 or -3.5 in the contest. I believe that they are 3. They're 3.5 in the circa, 3.5 in the Westgate. So, obviously 3 is just way more favorable for the Chiefs. The most likely result of any NFL game. You have the Chiefs, who I think can turn around here, and I think they got a lot of flack for losing 2 in a row. But really, there's no shame in losing to Buffalo and then at Denver. And then they came back last week and they beat the Colts in overtime. But I think you said it, Andy. Like, that game should have been a wider. I think we said that before. I think it was before we went on. I think it would be where we said that if you look at the stats, you would think that Kansas City won this game by 10 to 14 points at a minimum. Yeah, we agree with that. So I think the Chiefs could come on here. This is basically a primetime game, not technically, but they tend to do better in these showcase games. And I really don't believe in Dallas all that much. Their offense is awesome. They are both playing critical games. Kansas City, I think, playing with a greater sense of desperation because they weren't expected to be here. Dallas, for all intents and purposes, are happy to be here considering the way they started the season. Yeah. Right.
They were not expected to, 5-5-1, 6-5, 5-6. I don't think they were expected to be at this point. Kansas City expected to have 3 more wins than they have. They were expected to be 9-2, 8-3, maybe.
Yeah. So, they're better in what they are. And I think if they did have that record, they would be maybe -4, 4.5. But, Dallas is, they're a team that, they've been playing better defensively with Quinn Williams and Logan Wilson. I'm just not completely sold on it. And we just saw
a lot of what happened last week with Dallas is Dallas didn't win the game as much as Philadelphia lost it.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. And I don't think Mahomes will do that. I have faith in Mahomes to beat this team aerially, like Jalen Hurts.
Although I believe if you look at Mahomes, he has continued. I won't say a steady decline, but a noticeable decline over the past couple of seasons.
I'd say past couple of weeks because and when they had that 5-1 stretch, he was scrambling.
But they didn't really beat much of a team back then.
Yeah, I mean
Buffalo, but that's about it.
They clobbered Detroit, pretty convincingly. Yeah. So like he was scrambling a lot in the Buffalo and Denver game. He ran only once each, and I was kind of flabbergasted by that. Last week he scrambled 4 times, so not nearly as often as the Detroit game, but a little bit more. So
let's see what happens with Pacheco in the lineup tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. So
take some pressure off him.
We're going to see a better Chiefs team with Mahomes potentially running more, and these night games he tends to run more. So I like Kansas City here at -3, 3.5. I wouldn't consider betting it, but at 3 I might have a small wager on Kansas City.
You could buy the half point down.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I'm leaning Chiefs. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm with you on the Chiefs there as well. Not that it's an important or even a factor in the handicapping, but you have to wonder if Dallas has a little bit of a letdown the way outclassed. I mean, I think I wrote this game up this week, and one of my comments was that Dallas or Philadelphia was up before Cowboy fans got a chance to finish their 3rd beer. Early second quarter, and it's 21-0. But we've seen this out of Philadelphia. I know we're going to talk about that later. That Philadelphia has gone several times this year where they have not been able to score in the second half of games. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's a little bit of conservative game, offensive play calling in the second half, playing a little bit defensive not to lose. Maybe it's just not being able to make halftime adjustments. And I mean, I'm talking about offensively, because when you score 23 points in the first half and you shut out in the second half, and things like that happen. I think wasn't the Denver game another game where I don't think they scored. I know they didn't score. I don't believe they scored in the fourth quarter. They may not have scored in the half, in the half at all, unless they scored early third quarter. But we've seen that out of Philadelphia. So you wonder if Dallas sort of looks at it. I won't say a gift win, but you're down in an NFL game to a quality football team, and you're down 21-0 at home. You're pretty much going to lose those games probably 90% of the time. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if Dallas has overconfidence. I don't know. Then again, they may also have confidence because of how well they played on that opening Thursday night game. When they had that lightning delay and basically there was no scoring. Well, there was no scoring after that. So basically Dallas, and remember, they had a lousy defense back then. The defense, while still not up to league average, is certainly improved, and that improvement figures to continue because those trades they made at the trade deadline obviously helped them. And of course, the first week 1 game against Philadelphia was their first week without, the trade that they made with not who am I thinking of? Their why do I have a blank on his name all the time?
Parsons.
Yeah, Parsons, Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
So in other words, they didn't know how they would play defensively without him.
Right. Yeah.
And actually, they didn't play badly because I think, again, Philadelphia won, I think, 7 straight games being outgained in each of those 7 games. So Dallas outgained them in that first thing. So Dallas could be playing with, a little bit of overconfidence in this game against Kansas City. Based on the pedigree, you have to like Kansas City. But based on the pedigree, you had to like Kansas City last week against Indianapolis, an inexperienced team enjoying great success who didn't face that many challenges, and yet Kansas City was fortunate to win the game because after not scoring a touchdown all game, they scored a touchdown and 2-point conversion to send the game to overtime.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, so we split the difference here. You're with Evan on the first game. You're with me in the second game. So
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And I'll probably go 1-1, but I don't know which one it'll be. So either you or Evan will be happy.
I guess so. For DFS, would you play Cowboys defense if playing Mahomes? Yeah, you could do that. That's the old Jameis Winston strategy, which I actually had an amazing DFS lineup one week. It was when the Buccaneers with Winston played the Rams. This is a long time ago. It's like 2019 or something. But yeah, so that game, Winston would throw a pick six, and then we come back, throw a touchdown, next possession, pick six. You get points with the Rams defense, throw a touchdown next drive. It was really amazing. Just a really amazing lineup. So you can do that, especially on a 3-game slate. With Mahomes, I don't know if it'll work so well, but theoretically it could. You have a fumble return for touchdown.
He did make some ugly passes last week against the Colts.
He did, yeah. So
uncharacteristically.
Yeah, I mean, his downfield accuracy has just not been the same since he lost Tyreek Hill. So, Gibbs or Henry in DFS, I would go Henry. He plays Cincinnati. That's all you need to know. Gibbs is way more expensive. He's like $1,100 more, I believe. So,
well, also as I mentioned when we talked about the game, is that Green Bay, despite the fact they can't rush the ball as well as they're at league average, they're very good. They're, as I said, I think in the basic measure of yards per game, they're number 6, under 100 yards per game allowed.
Yeah, it's a much better matchup for Henry, and he's cheaper. So I would go Henry. As speaking of Henry, let's get to the last of the Thanksgiving games. Bengals at Ravens. This line is Ravens -7. I wish we knew.
By the way, Cincinnati is 31st in yards per game allowed rushing, 156.
Okay. Yeah, they are dreadful against the run. You're right. If you had to get one piece from the Packers game, who would it be for DFS? I think Christian Watson. Detroit's pass defense has been bad lately, and Watson has been Green Bay's top receiver. You could maybe go Romeo Doubs, but I'm playing Christian Watson in my lineup. So, all right. Bengals Ravens lines Ravens -7. I wish we knew what we're getting out of these teams, because Lamar Jackson has been banged up, either with a knee injury 2 weeks ago, ankle last week.
Didn't he miss practice the other day, which is pretty routine for him?
It is routine for him. He was. Let me look that up, because I didn't see him with the designation. He was DNP full. Oh man. So okay, here we go. 3 weeks ago he had a knee. He was DNP full. Last week it was ankle. DNP full. This week is toe. DNP full. So it's
working. It's working down the leg.
Right.
It's working down the leg.
Yeah, it'll be toenail, I guess. Maybe it'll be off the foot. I don't know.
He'll have an ingrown toenail next week. That'll be
right. Yeah, exactly. So I don't quite understand what's going on there, but what's clear is that he's not 100%. He's not running all that well. But that could change anytime. I mean, these players are superhuman almost. He could suddenly be 100% without a moment's notice, and I know it's a short week, but it could still happen. And anyway, it's still a great matchup against Cincinnati. And then on the other side, Joe Burrow. We have no idea how he's going to play. He could be he could be awesome, or he could be totally rusty. Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know how you handicap this game. It seems impossible to me. So this is another reason why I didn't want to submit the Thanksgiving card with Evan. I just don't know what to make of it. If I had to bet this one, I would say Cincinnati, just because we've seen Lamar not run very well recently, and we haven't seen Burrow. So there's at least an unknown with Burrow, whereas like Lamar, we just don't know. So I would go Cincinnati if I had to. How do you feel about this game?
I'd probably go Baltimore. I still think that the weakest unit by far on the field is 32nd in yards allowed per game. That's 416, which is 30 yards basically more than the number 31 team, which is Washington, as far as what they allow. The running game that I like to place emphasis on, Baltimore averages 138. Baltimore allows 150. Looking at the other matchup, Cincinnati only averages 85 yards per game. That's number 30. And Baltimore's basically at the league average, a couple of yards over, 118. So that does point nicely to Baltimore being able to have the edge in the running game, both offensively and defensively. As far as the passing game goes, well, of course, you really don't know. You really can't make a fair comparison as far as what Cincinnati does. But, yeah, Baltimore 29th as far as yards per game passing, 177, which is an extremely low number when you consider the average is 213. So that's what a good about looks about 15 than the league average and slightly higher than the league average as far as what they allow. But and there's only about a 30-yard difference here with Baltimore allowing 230 and Cincinnati allowing 260. So it's a small difference. Yet there's an eight rank difference, 24 versus 32. So I think there are more questions. Well, the questions are different. What and of course Higgins is out as is Hendrickson. So for the defense for Cincinnati, Chase will be back after his suspension. I just Harbaugh versus Taylor. Who would you have? Who would you rather put your money on?
I mean, yeah, easily Harbaugh. There's no question about that. Evan bringing it up last two games, shootouts, 35-34, 41-38. Baltimore won both. Burrow had 820, 9-1 in those two games. But that was a healthy Burrow. Like, Evan's confident here in the Bengals. But how can you be confident in Burrow? Like, we haven't seen him play at all. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's gonna be great. Who knows? Or like, if he's 100%, if you told me Burrow's 100%, I would be on the Bengals. But you just don't know. I'm still gonna be in the Bengals.
Is that plus the points or to win the game you're talking about?
Plus the points. Yeah, okay, I don't. Bengals defense is just so bad. You can't really trust them. And the Bengals defense this year is even worse than it was last year because
The thing I would say about Baltimore is that they've been winning these games without getting the Lamar Jackson kind of contributions that we would have expected of them.
Yeah,
and their defense is playing better.
Yeah, the defense has been great ever since the bye. I think they're number 4 in defense, number 2. I forget which.
And again, the key is Cincinnati cannot run the ball, and now they've got one of their best receivers out.
Yeah, So assuming he'll be fine, I think this is a game you bet live. Like if you're watching Burrow on his first drive, just go up and down the field on the Ravens. You're like, okay, I'm going to bet the Bengals live here. But
even if you have to get a smaller price, but if you're seeing him struggle, depending on how he's struggling, but you would have to think that that could be difficult for Cincinnati.
Yeah, Baltimore offense has been really poor last few weeks. Yeah. Well, I'll just point to Cincinnati's defense. Like Lamar should be able to throw all over them. I know he's not the greatest passer, but with Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, we were talking about DFS a couple minutes ago. Those guys should have huge games. Hunter Henry just had 15 yards against the Bengals. I live bet Hunter Henry, and I was going to ladder it. I didn't. But I bet him over 63.5 receiving yards, and he hit 115. Not even close. The Bengals, their linebackers are so bad with no Hendrickson, they can't get.
Was that one big play that Henry had? That got him basically.
He was already over. He was already over before that big play. But
what was that? What was the play? That was a long touchdown, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. Andrews
what was his number in the game? Had to be rather low.
Before entering the game, it was like 30 something or 40, and then in this at halftime, I bet his over 63.5. Walt's learning the tricks. Yeah. Well, I didn't learn it. I didn't learn it well enough because I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger because like the price on that was like so low, like it didn't even seem worth it. But I guess it got there. So, So anyway, so Andy, you're on Baltimore, I take it, and Evan.
I don't think it's going to be a play that I would bet, but if I were to bet, I would prefer Baltimore rather than Cincinnati, especially for the long-term prospects. As far as Cincinnati is concerned, Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore is coming up for them, starting tomorrow, and their season is all but over. Realistically, Baltimore technically in first place right now because of tiebreakers, even though they and the Steelers are 6-5. Taking a look at Baltimore's projection, they figure to continue to play well, and Pittsburgh we really don't know about. We'll learn a little bit of something, I think, about Pittsburgh this week when they host Buffalo, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I have more confidence in Baltimore going on to win the division than I do Pittsburgh.
Evan and I are on the same page here. I also made Baltimore -4.5, but that is assuming a healthy Burrow, which, like I said, we can't assume it. So maybe we just bet it live, like I said. So Andy, what is your top play of Thanksgiving? Is it Detroit? or is it
I would say it's
Kansas
Detroit.
City?
I would
Detroit.
say it's
Okay.
Detroit. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're on the
Let me
opposite sides of that. So,
let me see the numbers I have on the Bengals and Ravens. I could actually make a case for the Ravens being about a 10-point favorite in this game.
yeah, no doubt Baltimore wins
But
the
again,
division.
there's just so much uncertainty with Burrow.
Exactly. I'll say this. I don't think we can exclude the Bengals from winning the division because
We can.
well if they sweep
Baltimore, Buffalo, and Baltimore coming up the next 3 weeks. What can they afford? What's their record right now? 3-8.
I mean, it doesn't matter if they win the division; they make the playoffs. Like if they sweep
Baltimore,
Baltimore,
they're 3-8. They can basically, 9-8 is not. I don't think 9-8 is going to win this division.
Oh no! If they sweep Baltimore, they only have to pass the Ravens by 1 game. So because they're only 3 back of Baltimore.
Yeah, but you only got 6 to play.
Yeah, but they can pass Baltimore by 1 game like the rest of the year. I don't think that's not a hard
with that defense.
I'm just saying they could. I don't think
mathematically it's possible, but when you attach likelihood or percentages to it, it's remote. I mean, realistically, you look at what the lines are for their next 3 games at Baltimore. I think it's at Buffalo and then hosting Baltimore. They're going to be underdogs in all 3. So in theory, they will be they are expected to be 3-11. At best, 4-10.
Right. I'm just saying if they sweep Baltimore,
because by the way, if they get past those 3 games, they should win their last 3 games. I think it's Miami, Cleveland. I think is in there, and is it like New Orleans or somebody?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If they sweep Baltimore, I think they have a great chance. Well, not a great chance. They have a decent chance.
Not with that defense. Splitting against Baltimore, I would say yes.
Oh no, I'm saying if they sweep Baltimore, then they have a really good chance, and that's why they're bringing Burrow back, because if they win this game,
and if Kansas City wins out, they've got a chance to win the division. You're playing a lot of ifs here.
Well, I don't think it's really. I don't think it's that unfathomable. Like
for Cincinnati.
Yeah, because if they sweep Baltimore, they only have to catch them once, and you mentioned the easy games, and they've had Buffalo's number over the years. So I know
the game is at Buffalo.
Yeah, John Sanders. If he were in here, I assume he's maybe partying on Thanksgiving Eve. But if he were in here, he'd say how terrified he is because he's a big Buffalo fan, how terrified he is of Cincinnati. Cincinnati's just dismantled Buffalo. So I'm just saying, like the odds of the Bengals win the division, I don't are pretty low.
Well, I will give you this support for Cincinnati. Last year, at late in the season, what they finished? They finished 9-8, so they were 4-8 entering the last 5 games. 1 at Dallas, 1 at Tennessee, 1 at home against Cleveland, 1 at home against Denver, 1 at Pittsburgh. So they won 5 straight. Well, of course, that was Burrow in. I think was he injured at the end of last year?
No,
was that the year before? Maybe
it was the year before. No, they've he was on a roll at the end, and look, I'm just saying that the odds of them winning the division are low. But if they sweep Baltimore, then suddenly. Pretty substantial chances.
Well, then they would be what 6-8 with 3 games to go, and the 3 games are winnable.
Yeah, and they'd only have
I think at Miami, I think Arizona, but then they play their nemesis in the final game of the year, who they beat earlier, and that's Cleveland.
Right. Yeah, it'd be funny if they came down to that and they lost. Like they ran the table until they got to Cleveland and they lost.
Yeah.
The Shador Sanders maybe 500 yards against his defense. That'd be hilarious. Anyway,
I hope you're right, because I did have a futures ticket on the Bengals.
Okay, actually, I bet them to miss the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see. 95% of actions should be live tomorrow. I agree with that. If Baltimore's ahead, you're laddering Burrow and Chase and Henry. Assuming Burrow looks functional, yeah, I agree with that. And then if Cincinnati's ahead, you're playing Lamar rushing, maybe. I don't know if he's running. Yes, that's the question.
Well, you could also go back and forth with Packers and Lions and Chiefs and Cowboys.
Yeah, they could do that as well. Hey, fellas, how's it going? Which tight end this week, rest of the season? Juwan Johnson, Kyle Pitts, Strange, or Waller? I'd say for this week, you're looking at I think it's Strange plays. Well, I don't know if Waller's going to even play this week. I know he returned to practice, but we don't know.
They're playing the Saints, right?
Yeah, but he may not play yet. So I would say Brenton Strange because Trevor Lawrence loves throwing to him, and they play against Tennessee. Rest of season, I would. I've been saying this a lot. Kyle Pitts has such a great fantasy playoff schedule. He plays against Tampa, and believe next week he plays against, or soon he plays against Seattle, I believe. Both those teams are awful against tight ends, and Pitts has a history of just doing great against Tampa. So Pitts has, I think, rest of the season I'll go Pitts, and plus like London's out.
When do they play? When do they play Tampa? Do they play twice? No.
Play Tampa week 15, I think.
Didn't they open the season against Tampa?
Yeah. Yeah.
23-20, I think.
Yeah, the missed catch by Hodge.
Missed
Hodge,
point.
and then
there was
the
an
missed
extra point. Yeah.
Yeah, the missed field goal at the end.
What are they? They play the Jets this week, right?
Yeah, Falcons play the Jets. Yeah. 300 entries can take Baltimore out of 900. How many, Andy, do you think will be in Baltimore? 740 have Philly. Not sure of overlap. What's your projection?
Okay.
So 300 can take Baltimore.
I don't know about tomorrow night's game because of the uncertainty about Burrow. Although you would think that when they put this line out at the Westgate a week ago, this past Tuesday, I think the line was like 10.5 or 11. The thought there was, and I think that was because there was thought that Burrow was going to play this last week's game against New England. When it was determined that he wouldn't, the line went back down to about 7.5, and it's pretty much stayed there. I think. Let me see where it is right now. That there hasn't. In other words, another line of 7.5 took into account that it was almost certain, and right now it appears to be certain that Burrow will be playing. I'm still seeing 7 with Big Vig and 7.5s. As far as in the contest, I think not a lot of people I think have Seattle left. I think that when you're talking about just winning the game, I think Baltimore. Well, I don't know if Philly will get 625. I mean, I know they have issues. Chicago's playing like they know they can't lose, and sometimes that is meaningful. Remember, Chicago, what'd they go 7-8 games at the end of the year without losing? I mean, without winning. After I think did it start with that Hail Mary against Washington?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
but they didn't lose another game. It could be the reverse this year. They obviously don't have the team to that you would think would run off 10 or 11 in a row, but that's the position they're in right now. It's a lot easier to run off 7. Okay, but I don't know if there'll be 625 on Philly because I think I'd have to take a look and see. Philly has some other spots that because I was going over this with my friend who's in the Westgate Survivor.
They play against Washington. They play against Washington twice.
Washington, yeah, right, including the end of the season. Although at the end of the season, if Philadelphia has to play on Wild Card Weekend, they might rest everybody in that final home game against Washington. And who knows? I mean, they finished at Washington, at Buffalo, Washington, the 14th of December when they host Las Vegas.
Yeah, Raiders Week 15.
Yeah, that I think that's where you use Philly. If they, again, depending upon the contest that you're in and how deep it runs, if you're talking circa, that's almost extremely probable to go the distance, to go the 20 weeks.
Yeah,
so Wake 15. I mean, the other one I thought that would be an interesting one. If you have I think a lot of people have the Chargers left, and I think, and this is the. I was having this discussion with my friend Alan, who's got that entry in he's one of the 8 entries, one of the 8 entries in that Westgate Survivor, and we were talking about what are the chances of Vegas pulling an upset on the Chargers. He's one of the 2 of the 8 remaining who have Seattle available, and I think he's looking to play Seattle this week against a quarterbackless Minnesota.
Yeah.
Which is a good spot. It's probably Seattle's best spot. The Chargers, however, if you take a look at their remaining schedule, they have nothing as easy as they have this week. Because after this week, the Chargers. Let me get that out here.
I know they Kansas City.
They host Philadelphia on a Monday night. That won't be an easy game for them. At Kansas City, at Dallas, home hosting Houston, and at Denver. So you tell me, of the 6 teams, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Denver, regardless of where it's being played, which is the game that the Chargers figured out the easiest one to win? It's Las Vegas, and they're coming off of a bye week, so they will have had an opportunity to address, to the extent that they can, those offensive line issues.
Yeah, the only hope is if Denver has to sit as starters week 18, but you're not going to bank on that. You just can't.
No, you can't bank on that right now.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I did point out is, what is the likelihood that the Raiders pull the upset of the Chargers? You'd have to say it's very remote. But if he plays Seattle this week, is it more likely that Minnesota upsets Seattle or that the Raiders upset the Chargers? Probably you'd say it's more likely, even though it may be under 40%, that the Vikings could upset the Seahawks. Okay,
you think it's more
relative
likely
to that's more likely that not will, but could. It's more likely that the Vikings could upset Seattle than it is that the Raiders could upset the Chargers.
Oh, I would have guessed differently. Just because the Chargers can't. Because the Chargers can't block well.
Yeah, but the Raiders can't score.
The Chargers scored 6 points against Jacksonville. They can't score either.
Well, that was on the road, and that game was over at halftime.
Yeah,
but again,
we're scored more against the Browns than the.
We're looking at one game. I'm talking about 3 games in a row. The Raiders haven't scored more than 16 points.
Yeah, I know. Chargers really can't score either.
The difference is you've also got a much better defense in the Chargers. Seattle's got a pretty good defense.
Yeah, Seattle's defense.
But I think also Minnesota has a better, even without the quarterback, they still have a better chance offensively against Seattle than I think the Raiders do against the Chargers.
Well, I don't know. I would have thought Seattle. I play confidence pool on the site, which I can pull up if you're not. Do you know what that is? Confidence pool.
Yeah, you get like 16, 15, 14, 13 down to 1.
Yeah.
How confident you are. There's the team you're most confident in winning. You give 16. You give 16 points to.
Yeah. So my confidence pool picks for this week, I have Seattle at 16, and I had the Chargers at 10. So I don't like the Chargers at all this week.
Okay.
So I mean, we'll get to that.
I do for 2 reasons. Coming off the bye, they know their problems. 3 reasons. Jim Harbaugh, coming off the bye, which has given them an opportunity to address the issues that they have for the offensive line, and that they're playing the Raiders, and they're playing the Raiders in turmoil. Yeah. After making the firing of the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, rare home game for the Raiders, though. It's
but I don't know. It's not like it used to be. I would go to San Diego for games between the Raiders and the Chargers, and the Chargers were LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers, and there were Raider fans there. But not now that the Raiders aren't playing good football.
That's true.
Which is why you see so many Raider games being dominated by, or at least significantly represented by, the fans from the opposing teams.
Yeah, but I mean that's in Las Vegas. Like, this is their original home, or one of their original homes, LA Raiders. That's where they used to play.
Well, it's the Oakland Raiders. They'll always be the Oakland Raiders.
I know, but they were the LA Raiders for a while.
Yeah, for a little while.
Yeah. So I mean, they have their fans there.
Yeah, but most of those fans are in prison now, so we can't show up.
Well, maybe they'll be
just kidding, everybody. That's not true.
They'll be on furlough.
A lot of really good Raiders fans I know from the LA area still live there, or go to their games now. Yeah.
Raiders to score this week with the new OC. Hope springs the turn. That's another thing.
Or their timing could be off because of the play calling, and they could cause some turnovers. You still have that offensive line. You talk about the offensive line of the Chargers. Yeah. Well, look at the Raiders' offensive line, and Geno Smith getting banged up. What was he sacked 10 times last week by the Browns? I did some. I forget who it was. I think Warren Moon was one of them. I forget the other quarterback, another famous quarterback, well accounted quarterback, set the record for being sacked 12 times in a game.
Yeah, it was brutal. So we'll get to that game. Ken McGill says if the Chargers beat the Raiders, then bet them to miss the playoffs should be over even money. I think that's a good call. Okay, so let's get to the last of the quartet games of these this
weekend,
Thursday, Friday slate.
Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Week 13A.
Yes. Bears at the Eagles. This is probably a game I like the most of these four. No, I know Lane Johnson's out, and the Eagles have not done as well without Lane Johnson, but I don't know how much Lane Johnson matters in this game because Chicago has the worst pressure rate in the NFL. They don't get to the quarterback at all. Like they've just horrible pass rush. And then you look at the rest of their defense. They're down multiple defensive backs. They're down multiple linebackers. They can't stop the run. They have a negative point differential despite being 8-3.
Yeah.
And then I was like looking at how Caleb Williams has done against top 10 defenses because I was thinking like this is a tough matchup for him. But I was like,
how many top defenses has he faced this year?
He's faced 2 top 10 defenses this year. It was week 2 against the Lions. He lost 52-21. And then several weeks ago against the Ravens, he lost even though Tyler Huntley was starting. He only scored 16 points in that game. So Caleb Williams has scored 21 and 16 in the 2 games against top 10 defenses. And obviously the Eagles have a top 10 defense, probably even better than the 2 defenses Caleb Williams has faced. So this is his toughest test yet. I think the Eagles, especially off a loss, they take it to Chicago. I think they win rather easily. What are your thoughts on this game?
Of the 4 games played this weekend, as far as confidence goes, I'd say number 1 is Kansas City. Detroit. Number 2 is Kansas City. Number 3 is Philadelphia, and number 4 is the one we talked about before, Baltimore. As far as which I think are the most ones. When I take a look at sacks, which is kind of interesting. Philadelphia quarterbacks basically Hurts has been sacked about 2.5 times per game. Caleb Williams for Chicago about 1.5 times per game. So that is maybe a little bit surprising. And as far as defensive sacks, they're almost even. 2.09 defensive sacks for Chicago, 2.00 defensive sacks for Philadelphia. So not the kind of edge that you would have expected given the numbers that you cited before. Philadelphia. Relying more as far as play calling goes. They rush. They're about 50-50 rush pass. Chicago is about 47 rush, 53 pass. Teams to pass a little bit more against Philadelphia. A lot of it is because they're playing from behind against the Eagles, and about 54% versus about 58. About 56% versus 54% there. So Chicago does have the better yards per play on offense by almost a full yard, 4.8 versus 3.9. And defensively, it's almost the same edge for Philadelphia defensively, allowing 4.1. We're allowing 4.3 versus 5.2. So that's almost about the same. So statistically, and actually, Chicago, when I look at yards per pass completion, Chicago has the edge both offensively and defensively. So you can make a, let me see, those were yards per rush, not yards per play defensively. I was talking about before the 0.9. Yards per play, Chicago has a slight edge, a little bit more of an edge defensively for the Eagles. So you can make a case that given the way that they're playing, that Chicago, how much is their winning streak worth as far as the line goes? Well, if they were coming in here instead of on a 6-game winning streak, they were coming in here, on a 2 or a 3-game winning streak. Is Philadelphia a 10-point favorite in this game? I don't know.
Maybe close, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not playing like a 10-point favorite. Right. And again, the fact that they've had so much trouble in the second half of games offensively is a bit of a concern. Is Barkley injured? I mean, for like on week 7, I'm saying, well, maybe they're limiting his action so that he'll be really fresh once we start getting into December because of all the pounding and all the carries he had last year that they want to save him. But now we are in December. Well, we will be on Monday, but this is a Sunday game. But the point is that Barkley has never really gotten started this year. Yeah, they have some. Johnson, of course, is a part of it, but he's had difficulty getting through the holes that have been opening. He just seems a little bit slower this year. I wouldn't say he's showing a little bit more tendency, tentativeness than we're used to seeing. But it is a good spot for Philadelphia, especially coming off of the blown lead last week. And I also have to wonder if you go back to not last season, but the season before, that are there internal issues in the locker room with the receivers and all that, and Hurts and the play calling? Because right now, I do like Philadelphia, but I'm very reluctant to bet against Chicago, especially at this number.
Andy, I brought this up a bunch of times this year. Who is the running back who is dead last in yards before contact? And you know this.
Well, I think it's either Gentry or Barkley.
Yeah, Gentry is the worst, and then Barkley's the second worst.
Yeah.
Gentry's one great rushing game this year was against Chicago. So maybe Saquon Barkley can have a game kind of like he had against the Giants.
Yeah.
Remember before the bye, he ran for a 65-yard touchdown on the second play from scrimmage, and then he had an amazing game. Bigsby even ran for 100 yards in that game. I think Chicago, without, and Evan pointing out, without its two top linebackers, they can't stop the run at all. So maybe Barkley goes off here like Gentry did in week 4.
Who's playing better, the Philadelphia offense or the Pittsburgh offense?
I think Philadelphia offense for sure. I mean,
over the last 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Eagles at least had a great first half against Dallas. They couldn't run the ball.
You play 60 minutes though.
I know, but
so you got to count the game. You know, it's like Minnesota against Chicago on the opening Monday night. Okay, Minnesota did nothing for 3 quarters, and then they did everything in the fourth quarter to win the game. So 60 minutes, action. But I mentioned that Philadelphia's had that problem all year. Good first half, even that opening game against Dallas. After halftime, it came before the Lightning. I think it was a Philadelphia field goal.
Yeah. After the Lightning, nothing happened in that game. So,
so I have some concerns about how much damage Philadelphia's offense can. I mean, I like them in this game. It's the numbers sort of match up, but you're going with a team that has to be questioning itself a little bit after last week's loss, which followed again the familiar pattern that I'm talking about. Good offense early, no offense late. Going up against a team that says, hey, no matter how badly we play, we're in these games in the fourth quarter, and we're winning, and we're coming from behind to win almost all of them.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten very lucky this year. The Raiders game, the missed field goal, and the Redskins game with Merritt dropping the handoff, and a bunch of these games.
Philadelphia getting that punt block against the Rams. Yeah, they're all lucky at some time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
down 26-7 in that game, I think it was. I mean, we can all, when we want to make a point to 2, 3, 4 instances that support that point. When we want to make a point against a team, we can point to 3, 4 instances that support going against that team. So, Bears getting from wins, super lucky, but that's all part of the game. It breeds confidence when you take a thing that you're going to that you've been there before. It's just like last year when they were losing all those games. They said, what's going to happen to cause us to lose this game that we should win?
Yeah, Bears now the only team with winning records and negative point differential. Yeah, Carolina had that last week as well.
Carolina was a lot negative in differential. They were 40-something points negative before last week's loss.
And the Bears are what, -4 or -3, something like that?
-3, I think, after the 3-point win last week. Yeah.
I saw that Football Outsiders from Aaron Schatz. He said that the Bears are the worst team of all time, 8-3 or better, according to DVOA. So it's pretty easy to be skeptical about this team.
Yeah, but you know what? They don't pay off bets on DVOA. They pay off bets on final scores.
Yeah, unless the book carries bets on DVOA, which I've never seen, but maybe they do.
Well, if they did, they wouldn't be in business very long.
That's true. I have the Bears below average in power.
So do I. I have. Let me see where I have Philadelphia rated number 8. I have Chicago rated number 21.
Okay, yeah. So looks like Eagles look good here. We think, unless they blow another big lead, which could certainly happen. So maybe if the Eagles are way ahead, maybe he hedge with Chicago at halftime. All right, let's get to the 1 o'clock game.
That's not a bad idea, given Philadelphia's history in the second halves and Chicago's history in the second halves this year.
Yeah. Evan loves the +7. I thought you liked the Eagles, so we disagree on 3 picks.
I like the Eagles in the game.
Oh no, Evan says Evan says I love the +7.
The Bears. Yeah.
Is that only?
I am not going to argue with anyone who wants to take the Bears in this game.
Yeah,
because they've been cashing tickets for week after week after week, despite putting up similar type stats.
Yeah, I don't know. At some point,
and again, how much of that? Ben Johnson clearly has a way of getting through to his team and convincing them that every time they take the field, they're going to win. And when you keep winning, hey, this coach knows something. That's not me saying that. That's the player saying something. They have a great deal of confidence in him, and he likes to be innovative. And he's people aren't talking about him being a coach of the year because they're talking about Vrabel, they're talking about Seattle and all that, Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
But you could certainly make a case for Ben Johnson, especially of these teams, and Indianapolis is giving them a run right now, especially if the Bears end up with the most wins of those teams, although I think New England right now leads with 10.
Andy, one more question before I go. Any chance the Rams don't need the game on Monday night, week 17? What is who they play in week 17?
Yeah, let me see what they play in week 17. I think I'm guessing he may be looking
Falcons.
at it. He may be looking at it from a survivor standpoint.
Yeah, it's at Falcons.
Hard to say because let's see who they play before then. Okay, they should win at Carolina. They should win at Arizona. They play at home against Detroit and at Seattle back to back. So let me just get this thing back on. I think my camera has gone out to give the viewers a break for a few minutes. Let me get it back on there. I could see them winning 3 out of the 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2 out of the 4. I could see them losing at home to Detroit. I could see them losing at Seattle. So the game at Atlanta in week 17, I would think the Rams, I'll be interested to see how much the Rams support they get this week at Carolina and next week at Arizona. This week, if the teams teams that figure to get the support are Baltimore and Seattle. Although Baltimore may not be as much. I think the Chargers will get a lot of support going against the Raiders. Number 1, it's the Raiders, and number 2, it's really by far, I mean, it's not even close. This is the best spot for the Chargers based upon who they have to play the next 5 games. So we might not see that many people take the Rams this week. At this week because of the options. The next week at Arizona, it's hard to say. Although Arizona, they keep finding ways not to win games that they could win, and you have to wonder if their spirit's going to be broken if they lose to the Rams. So that because Arizona in week 18, which could be a game that determines the overall number 1 seed in the NFC, because they have a 1-game lead over Philadelphia, but the Eagles have the home field advantage. I'm sorry, they have the advantage of having beaten the Rams earlier, so that would win a tiebreaker. And then you have Chicago, and we don't know what Chicago is going to do. They do have 2 games against Green Bay. They have 1 game against Detroit. You figure they'd lose 2 out of the 3, maybe 3 out of the 3, but the way they're playing, who knows? So I would say week 17 against Atlanta. The thing I wouldn't like about him in Survivor is that it's on the road, but you figure Atlanta won't have much to play for. And, Kirk Cousins will have started, 4 or 5 games by then, so he may be worn out. It's an indoor game.
They got something to play for because if they're only 2 back of the Buccaneers in the division, and Tampa doesn't have Mayfield right now, so they could if Tampa loses this week,
what's his status?
Only back by 1.
What's his status this week? Mayfield still questionable.
He's week to week, so I don't think he's going to play this week. I think next week is more likely. So yeah, if Tampa loses this week and Atlanta beats the Jets, they're only 1 back. So they'll be pretty close. Plus Carolina's reeling. I asked ChatGPT how likely it is the Rams need to win. Of course, ChatGPT is infallible, right? So this says there's a roughly 70 to 80% chance the Rams would prefer a win in week 17. So there you go, for what it's worth.
Well, no, it's right. And I guess that was what Evan was saying. He was planning. It sounds like he was planning to use the Rams in week 17, which is actually week 19 in the contest.
Right.
If Eagles win, Rams are a good maybe for this week to keep pace with the Eagles, keep ahead of the Eagles.
Because Evan was saying week 17 is pretty rough for Survivor. I've been saying that an injury could open things up. Like Mayfield, for example, got hurt this week. Like, what if a quarterback goes down? I know it's hard to count on that, but you just never
Well,
know
I
what's going
have
to happen.
one of my client friends, really good friend, is one of the 8 people still alive in the Westgate, and we talked the other day, and I told him to go through and take a look at the other teams that are available. Now, keep in mind that in Westgate you don't have the see if I have it up, but I don't have it up. You don't have the Thanksgiving and Christmas split week, so that's just an 18 week contest. But let me see if I can call and see where it is, because we went through all the scenarios for all the teams that he has not yet used, and he came up with like 3 or 4 situations where let's see here, where he said this would be a good spot, this would be a bad spot. So well, I can't find it. No, here it is. Okay. He went down, and let me see what he had for week 17, because you're right. I think he said Cowboys at the Commanders in week 17 might be a play if you haven't used Dallas.
That's a Christmas. That's a Christmas slate, though.
Yeah. Chargers this week against the Raiders, or 17 home against the Texans, which I would not want to get involved in, because Houston's probably playing for a playoff spot, if not a division title, depending upon how they do in their games against the Colts. Jets. He said in week 17, if it's a meaningless game for the Pats, but I don't know that it'll be a meaningless game in week 17. Steelers, week 17 at the Browns.
Sketchy.
Seahawks, week 17 at the Panthers. Titans, week 17, home versus the Saints. And the Commanders, week 17, I said, against the Cowboys. So, yeah, not a lot of options that he found out for playing the week 17 as far as any gimme teams.
Yeah, everyone's saying Bengals over the Cardinals if Joe Burrow's healthy. So
yeah,
you could do that.
They play them what in week 17, I think it is. Yeah,
yeah.
Because I think the Bengals and Miami, Cardinals, and Cleveland.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and so, like I said, something could pop up as well. You could completely change your mind depending on some injuries and whatnot. So injuries happen all the time. Walt's not going to like my option for this week, assuming I have the guts to save the Rams. Oh man, it's not the Dolphins, is it? Because we'll discuss it later. I don't have the Dolphins winning this game, so I don't know. I hope it's not the Dolphins.
The thing that concerns me about the Dolphins is coming off the bye after they've been playing relatively well.
Yeah, teams off a win on the bye, usually a poor, especially a bad team off a win and the bye. That's a disaster. I would not take Miami in a million years. I hope.
Well, you wonder about the Saints coming off of a game in which they were initially underdogs and went off the favorite, and the original line was correct.
Yeah, I mean, off a loss, sure, they're coming off a win. Same. Now
they were they were obviously betting against Kirk Cousins.
Right, and then Cousins played much better than expected, and we'll get to the game. But the Saints were in the same position as Miami was. The Saints were coming off a win and then the bye. Yeah. Bad team, welcome over for win and a bye, and they lose to the Falcons. And I think that they can come back. Andy, when I win this contest, we're flying Walt out to private to collect a $18.7 million check live show for the stadium swim. Yeah, well, okay, we'll do.
That sounds good.
It sounds great. I'll have all my stuff on the front lawn, but at least we'll be able to enjoy the stadium swim. So.
Yeah, but think how many will be attracted to you when you got when.
Well, I'm not winning.
It has 18.7 million. So.
Yeah, well, my friend is worth 18.7 million.
He could buy you a new house if all your stuff is on the front lawn.
Well, in this market, maybe not. I don't know. Andy's picking us up on the tarmac. Yeah. That'll be fun. I hope that all pans out. But yeah, well, good luck, Evan. This week.
What did Evan make it to? What did he make it to? Week 17 a few years ago.
Yeah, he told me. I made it to week 16 back when they had 17 weeks a long time ago. Good night, Jets. Good night, Evan. We'll be talking tomorrow on the show after the Bengals Ravens game. Yeah, don't remind me.
Yeah, so. If I haven't collapsed from all the turkey I'll be eating, I will be listening in.
Yeah, it's always rough after the turkey. The tryptophan gets to you. Okay, let's get to the. Oh, wait. Sorry, before we had one question I wanted to address real quick.
Yeah.
Scott White asking, "Do you guys talk fantasy here?" Our fantasy show's on Tuesday night, but if you wanted to ask some random fantasy questions, we could definitely help you out. So, welcome to the show, Scott. Anyway, so the first game.
So I don't know that I'll bet Philadelphia, but if I were if I were going to make a bet on the game, that would be the side, simply because of a lot of the fundamentals. With the Eagles, if you are betting this game on potential, which is what these stats basically show, I think you got to like Philadelphia. If you bet it on recent performance, regardless of what the numbers say, sort of an intangible momentum type handicapping, you got to be on the Bears. I like to be on the fundamentals more often than just on the. I won't say situation, because there really is no situation in this spot. It's just how these teams are playing, and the Bears. Maybe they're not playing much better than the Eagles, although that could be somewhat debated given the Eagles' Jekyll and Hyde offensive performances half to half. But they're certainly playing with a great deal of confidence.
Wouldn't you say the situation favors the Eagles, though? They're coming off a loss, a good team coming off a loss. Feels like they could rebound here. I don't know.
You would think so, but how have they done previously coming off of losses this year? Do you have that in front of you?
Actually, coming off a loss in the Jalen Hurts era, they've been abysmal, actually. I think they're like 4-11 against the spread. But I don't know. It's a lot of those losses actually.
What are they, for example? Well, I guess last year and this year would be pretty good because of that great run they had last year.
Yeah, most of those losses are from that one season where they started 10-1 and they collapsed.
10-1, and then
Yeah. So,
well, except for the fact that they were losing so many games at the end that they, over the second half of the season, they weren't coming. After they were 10-1, what did they win? One game the rest of the way?
Yeah, they were awful. So, and then they got blown out by Tampa in the playoffs.
Tampa Bay,
they racked up a lot of losses in that awful loss trend there. PPR start 2: Debo, McLaurin, Pearsall, Slayton, DK, Mechie, Butte, Dortch. Thanks in advance, Walt. Well, good luck in this week. I think Debo, if Surtain's out, maybe Debo. McLaurin, actually,
it's going to be Mariota again, right?
Yeah, and I actually assume if McLaurin's playing, Surtain will be McLaurin, so maybe Debo's the guy there. Pearsall's not healthy. It's hard to trust Slayton. DK has been great recently. He's worth a shot. Mechie. Atlanta's pass defense is pretty good. Butte could be worth the look against the Giants and the Dortch. So I would say Debo and either Butte or DK. It's very close. It's PPR, so I would say DK actually seems better in PPR. So Debo, DK, but Butte is pretty close there. So good luck, Spanky. Hope you win this week. All right, let's get to the Sunday slate.
As I said, we'll be able to do it in less than 5 hours. We've gotten through 4 games so far.
An hour and a half for 4 games, yeah.
But they're all interesting games.
Yeah, of course, and we had Evan here to talk as well about them. So I feel like these games will go a little bit quicker. Texans at the Colts. This line is Colts -4 or 4.5. I think this line was 3.5 earlier, so this has been climbing up. Don't really see any injuries of note on the injury report yet, and obviously it's only Monday. So CJ Stroud, by the way, full in concussion protocol, so it looks like he's going to be back. And maybe that's
what
part
you
of the
say.
reason
Full practice today.
Full practice today.
Okay,
yes,
and it's still in concussion. Yeah, he's got a couple of days before he can be cleared or needs to be cleared.
The full is a good indication there. So, I'm leaning toward the Colts. I don't really like this game very much. Interesting matchup though. Indianapolis offense versus Houston defense, which I think everyone is focusing on. But if you look at the other side, you have Houston offense versus Indianapolis defense. And I think that's completely lopsided because Houston's offensive line is a disaster, whereas Indianapolis's defense is really good with their 2 really good cornerbacks. Actually, the 3 good cornerbacks, the slot corner. But they have a good pass rush. Not as good without DeForest Buckner, but still a good pass rush against the team that can't block. CJ Stroud coming off the first game from a concussion could be an issue. So I'm leaning Colts, but not with much confidence. What do you think about this game?
I like Houston. I like them to win this game, but I certainly think this number is a little bit high considering how Houston has started to play better. And, again, the intriguing matchup. Total yards, Indianapolis offense is number 2. Houston's defense number 1. Points scored per game, Indianapolis number 1 on offense, Houston number 2 on defense. So it's a classic case of offense versus defense. I generally in those kinds of games because those are usually determinative. Now both teams have good turnover margins, especially Houston. Houston's +10, and Indianapolis is +4. And we've seen Daniel Jones start to struggle a little bit. I think he's turned it over himself. I want to say 11 times this year. I want to say it's at 9 interceptions and 2 fumbles lost. I think something along those lines. If I'm Houston, I do one thing. I keep my eyes on Taylor the entire game, make Daniel Jones beat me through his arms, and Houston has the number 3 pass defense in the league, and they have the number 5 rush defense in the league. Indianapolis very good against the run, 97 yards per game, and of course Houston 92 yards allowed, and they're going up against the number 4 rushing offense, largely Taylor, 139 yards per game. So that's a nice little edge, except for the fact that Houston is so good against both the run and the pass that they may actually have some success shutting down the run up front and being able to play good pass defense on the back end. This would not surprise me. This is the first of 2 games. I believe they meet again at Houston in week 18 in a game that by that time might very well decide the division, because I think we're going to see Houston go on a little bit of a run here. Indianapolis, let me again take a look at the games they have coming up over the next few weeks.
That could be the game flexed into Sunday night.
Could be. They're at Jacksonville. They're at Seattle. They host San Francisco. They host Jacksonville. And then they're at Houston on the final Sunday of the season, January 4th, I think it is. And that could be the Sunday night game. They usually do have one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the Colts have to play the Texans twice and the Jaguars twice. So
yeah,
it's kind of crazy if they lose all 4 of those games, or 3 or 4. They could suddenly be looking on the outside
out of the playoffs,
right after such a great start. So kind of weird how this could go for the Colts.
Well, I think also the fact is that the Texans are we expected the Texans to be playing well. I don't know that we expected Jacksonville to be, I'll just say in quotes, playing as well as they are. They're not playing great, but they're doing enough to win in many games. So I like Houston plus the points in this game, and I'll probably sprinkle a little something on the money line.
Okay. All right. Next game is Cardinals at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are -2.5. They were 3 on Tuesday when I was running up the games, and now it's dropped. I assume some pro money came in Arizona. I like Arizona here. Baker Mayfield is probably going to be out. He did not practice today. So Teddy Bridgewater is going to play, I assume, and he I don't know. He looks so off when he came in. All he did was throw passes out of bounds. Is pretty brutal. I think Arizona's an underrated team as well. Like the fact that they're underdogs against a team missing its quarterback, a mediocre team missing its quarterback.
Well, we don't know that he's out though.
I assume so. I assume he's gonna be out because the week-to-week designation, and he didn't practice today. So I made Arizona a 1.5 point favorite in this game. I think they are an underrated team. They're 3-8, but 6 of their losses came in the final seconds, including last week when they lost in overtime. That felt pretty bad, by the way, having Arizona +2 heading into overtime and then losing. Because, as you said, whenever you have an underdog heading into overtime, you feel like you have the game right, but it doesn't count. The sportsbooks aren't going to give you any money for that.
I have lobbied for 25 or 30 years that they ought to offer underdog insurance. Instead of laying -110, you lay -120, and your bet is decided on the basis of the score at the end of regulation play.
I think ESPN Bet actually does that.
Do they? Because I think the actual price is probably around -116 or 117, so the book gets their edge if you have to lay 120.
I think they call it overtime insurance. It's the only thing ESPN Bet does well. I'll say that. It's a terrible sports book, but
now do they do what's like Circa now has? They offer you can bet that specific games for each game it'll end in a tie.
You can bet margin of victory,
which I think is the worst possible bet you could possibly make, because you average maybe not even one tie per season. What do we have? One this year already?
Yeah, one. Yeah, it usually
one
per year.
Some years you have as many as 2. Right. Number of years you have none.
Right. Yeah, that's a terrible thing to bet. So, that and overtime insurance and was it a single round golf bets that ESPN bet does well. Outside of that, they don't do anything well. So
now you could also bet will the game go to overtime?
Yes, you could do that. Yeah.
Does ESPN have that one?
I don't know if ESPN bet. I know like FanDuel, DraftKings, they have that. I don't know.
In other words, not that you have the overtime insurance where you get the score at the end of regulation, but the fact that the game does go to overtime and it doesn't matter who wins, is just because you're just betting that the game goes overtime. It's like, will there be overtime in the Super Bowl?
Right. Yeah.
Well, for 50-something years, you lost that bet if you said yes. Then you won it twice in about a 6-year period.
Stink to lose that.
Same thing with the safety.
Yes, right.
Minus 900 or minus 1100 that there'll be a safety, that there won't be a safety in the game. Oh, easiest bet in the world until it loses 3 years in a row, and now you're out 39 units.
Right, throwing in every parlay.
33 units.
Yeah, throwing in every parlay. Yeah, exactly. So, I like Arizona here. I don't love this game though, and I don't know if I'm going to bet this one. And the reason for that is I could see Tampa kind of rallying around Bridgewater. You sometimes see these average to good teams whenever they have a backup quarterback in there against a non-elite defense. They tend to rally around that quarterback. So Bridgewater looked so bad last week, but maybe with a week of practice.
Well, he didn't. Yeah, he would just call. You wouldn't expect to be playing.
Right. With a week of practice, I assume he can't be worse, especially given that he's not playing against the Rams again. So I'm leaning Arizona, not a bet here. What do you think about this game?
Very little interest here. I think in my newsletter this week, and I got to actually send out the ones to you later. I think I went with Tampa Bay -3, just an opinion. Had no intention of playing the game.
What about 2.5? Would you have more confidence?
No.
No. Okay.
No. I mean, I can't trust either team. Tampa Bay is clearly, they were playing and coming out on the right side of a lot of those close games in the early part of the season. And then they just have not been playing as well. In Arizona, for some reason, they can't seem to play 60 minutes of good football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. All right.
And I also think maybe perhaps the Brissett magic has worn off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people in the last weeks of Survivor will bet the tie to protect themselves. Yeah, I mean, you can hedge and such. I assume Evan said he'll be live hedging week 17 onward at the circuit. So yes. All right. Jaguars at the Titans. This line's Jaguars -6.5. So Tom, who comes on the show Friday nights, has been excellent this year as picking upsets. I assume this is going to be one of the two teams that he might pick as an upset, the Titans. He picked the Titans against the Texans a couple weeks ago. They didn't win, but they covered. This looks like a trap to me for Jacksonville. They're coming off an overtime win. They play against the Colts next week. The Titans are a miserable 1-10 team. And granted, they haven't played against them this year, and it's a divisional game. But if I'm Jacksonville, I have the Colts on the horizon, and we have the stupid Tennessee team now. I'm thinking, man, we're going to win this game, and then figure out how to beat the Colts to take the divisional lead. This could be an issue for them. Also, the Tennessee, they got a good game out of Cam Ward last week. Now, granted, some of it was a garbage time, but he started running, and that was something he hadn't done earlier this season. So if Cam Ward's starting to actually use his legs, I don't know why he's waited this long, that could give the Titans some chances to move the chains here against a defense that is not that good. I think Jacksonville's, I believe, is 21st in defense, if I remember correctly. They're 22nd in defense. So I think Cam Ward could be okay here. And then Tennessee's defense hasn't improved a little bit recently with Jeffrey Simmons coming back from injury. And they also get these yards you don't count on from the punt return. So Shamar Dike has returned 2 touchdowns in the last 3 games. So yeah, I am. This is the first time all year I will be first time since week 1 I will be backing Tennessee because I took Tennessee against Denver. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised at myself. I usually don't like to back this terrible Tennessee team, but I'm doing that here. I don't know if I could bring myself to bet this game. Maybe I'll get more courage, especially if you and Evan and Tom talk me into it. So I like Tennessee. What are your thoughts on this game?
I just can't back Tennessee. They're just such a bad team. I mean, even last week they got the late cover, a double-digit line with that late touchdown. Problem I have is, I'll throw some numbers and I'll give you the one that I was looking at. Yards per play differential, Jacksonville -0.2, Number 17, Tennessee last, minus 1.6. So that's almost a yard and a half difference per play. Yards per rush. Here's a significant one, and I'll elaborate on in a moment. Jacksonville rushes for 4.4. Tennessee allows 4.8. Tennessee rushes for 3.8. Jacksonville allows 3.9. So a big edge there for the Jaguars. Jacksonville has a better average in pass completions, almost a full yard more than what Tennessee gains, and they allow about a half a yard less in what Tennessee allows. +4 turnover versus -4 for Tennessee. But the key to me is that rushing matchup where I mentioned the 3.9 and the 3.9. Tennessee is number 32 in the league, averaging 78 yards per game on the ground. Jacksonville, number 1, and allowing 84 rushing yards per game. So basically, Jacksonville's playing very well on defense against the run. Their numbers against the pass are not terrible, but they're certainly in the lower part of the league, number 25. But that's only 20 yards better than what Tennessee allows, which is number 19, 220. But Tennessee, number 30, 170 passing yards per game. That's Philadelphia Eagle-like. Because I think they said the Eagles are 177. So I just don't know if Tennessee can do enough offense. And the fact that this is a divisional game and that Jacksonville is contending with both Indianapolis and Houston, I think that they take this game seriously because it means so much, especially with two competitors, one of which you're ahead in Houston, one of which you're behind in Indianapolis. And you have to play, I think, what do you play? Jacksonville has, 2 games against Indianapolis?
Yep, 2 games against the Colts. Yep. So
yeah, so I think they take this game seriously. I think they get out to a 10 to 14 point lead and try to protect it. And again, the rushing matchup is horrible. Number 32 versus number 1 defensively, and the passing is number 30. And yeah, they may give some yards up, but looking at what these teams are allowing, even just not even considering who it's against. Tennessee averaging just 15.2 points per game. I mean, that's it's 2 points, 0.2 better than the Raiders. And who's lowest? Who's worse in the league? I think New Orleans and the Raiders are both tied at 15 points per game. Let me see here. That's 9 points less than what Jacksonville scores. And there's about a 5-point differential in what these teams allow, again, favoring Jacksonville. So I would not be uncomfortable playing Jacksonville. My projection has them winning this game, I think, by 10 or 11 points.
Okay. If you told me for certain that the Jaguars would show up and treat this game very seriously, I would be on Jacksonville. I'm just not convinced.
Well, they should.
They should, but I don't know if they will.
It's a divisional game.
Yeah, but 1-10 team, who does it matter? I don't know. Like they
it's a no. Again, it's a divisional game, and those wins are important because you're not going to have 3 teams out of the AFC South make the playoffs.
I completely agree that
this is a game that they have to win, and if they can, not take chances that it comes down to the fourth quarter.
I just if I'm
especially the way they played fourth quarters against Houston a few weeks ago.
I'll just picture myself as if I'm a member of the Jaguars and I have the Colts next week, and I'm like, oh, cool, Tennessee, we'll win this one, and then we have the Colts.
Well, that's up to the new coach Cohn to basically say, hey guys, don't start thinking about Indianapolis until we're back home in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, he could say anything he wants, but if I'm a player and again, I'm a hired merc here, not a part owner of the team. I'm thinking, yeah, our big game is next week, not this one, and we should.
Well, that assumes that you know what the players think. That we all make that assumption. Right. We may think, well, if we were a player, we would think that, but that's not the mentality of a guy who makes it through college and into the NFL as a player. They don't necessarily have that same mentality where they're looking ahead. Fans look ahead, the medias look ahead, but the players don't necessarily look ahead, especially if they get good coaching, and because the coach can always point out, see what happened last time you looked ahead, blah, blah, blah. See what happened when this team looked ahead. Remember an unbeaten team looked ahead? And, a good coach can stress that and can say, hey, let's get the win, celebrate on the way home, then we'll think about Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, well, it could be the case that half the players look ahead and half don't. I mean, it's not. We don't know. They're not the Borg. They don't all think the same. So I don't know. I don't know. I really, like I said, I don't know how to handicap this. I think player motivation is the toughest thing to handicap because we're not in the
Yeah,
locker
well,
room.
Because you're guessing.
Right. We're not in
Unless
the
a
locker
player
room.
comes out and says, "Well, we had a little meeting today, and we're all confident we're going to win," or something like that. But then you never hear that.
Yeah, I think.
Nor should you.
I think the biggest mistake is to bet solely on that. But if you're saying if you exercise caution and think this team there's a decent chance this team might look ahead, then maybe you don't play that side.
Let me ask you this: does Tennessee have any redeeming factors that suggest they could take advantage if Jacksonville's looking ahead? What can Tennessee do well?
Well, if Cam Ward's running, Cam Ward's running. They
only average 78 yards a game as a team.
Yeah, but no, Cam Ward just started running like last week.
How much can he contribute?
I mean, he ran for
last week. So in other words, they were averaging 60 yards a game before that.
Yeah. So they.
they're getting no contribution. Let me just see something here. They are actually. It's not that big of a gap because number 31 is 79 yards a game, and that's the Raiders, which really shouldn't count.
Yeah, I think Cam Ward's running more. Shamari DK has emerged as a decent receiving weapon in the last 3
How much is he running more by design or out of necessity because he's about to get sacked?
I don't know why he wasn't running because he was running a lot in Miami, but he didn't run at all to start the season. And then he had a decent running game last week, and the coach came out and said this is part of his development, starting to run. And I'm thinking, isn't it usually the opposite? Don't scrambling quarterbacks run more and then become pocket passers?
Well, the disturbing thing is he's been sacked, I think, much more than any quarterback this year, and that's been going on since the first week of the season. In fact, he is the only quarterback where I'm taking a look at the average sacks per game, and the first number is a 4. 4.1 sacks per game. So, maybe he's running for his life a lot more than he has to.
Well, he was, but the thing is that he wasn't running more for his life. He was just holding on to the ball forever. Yeah. And now he's at least running to avoid those sacks. Like he wasn't running before to avoid those sacks. So that could certainly help. And I think that Jacksonville's the only thing Jacksonville does.
By the way, they are losing a league high 31.1 yards per game sack because of sacks coming off the net.
That's true. Yard. That's true. But if he's running more, then that kind of negates the sack total a little bit. So that could help. And like I said, he has a decent receiver now, Shamari DK, who's kind of emerged here as a rookie. So I'm not saying the offense is going to be great or anything, but it could be more functional than it was in the first half of the season. So I don't know. I'm not advocating to bet the Titans here. I just think that.
I'm asking you to try to make a case, and you're making a case, but almost seems like it's a bit of a struggle to do so because there's we have to really look that hard to find something positive. Let me just see something. I want to see something here about Cam Ward.
While you're doing that, the other thing I wanted to mention was Jeffrey Simmons. He missed a bunch of games, and now he's back, and that defense is definitely better with him. It's not great, but it's better.
Here's Ward's sack total beginning with game 1. That's just okay, but I'll just read. The opponents aren't really going to matter because the numbers are so bad. 6, 5, 4, 2, 2, 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 4.
Okay.
Those are the sacks totals for all, 11 games that they've played.
Yeah, I mean, he holds the ball a long time, and like I said, but the scrambling should help bring that number down. Maybe we won't see 6s. We'll see 4s instead of 6s and 2s instead of 4s. I don't know.
So instead of losing by 24, they lose by 14.
Right, and with this number, they'll be in position for backdoor cover. So, I don't know. I like I said, I don't know about this game, but what I do know is that the Jaguars, when they went to the Raiders, they almost lost in overtime, and when they went to Arizona, they almost lost in overtime. And if they almost lose to the Raiders and Cardinals, they could certainly almost lose.
Well, once again, it's a division game. Carries added weight. Could come down to tiebreakers if let's say they split with Indianapolis and they split with Houston, and Jacksonville gets swept by those other. Tennessee gets swept by those other two teams, and Jacksonville goes 1-1. That's important to win the game. Now, covering, of course, is a little bit different, but the gap between these teams is so great in so many critical areas that and they both are pretty similar as far as turnovers go. They both turned over the ball 14 times. Jacksonville has 8 more takeaways than does Tennessee.
Well, I'll say this, that their net EPA is actually not that far off. The Titans obviously 32nd.
EPA. What is EPA again? Expected points.
Expected points above. I forget what it's
So
called.
it's a contrived measure. You either score in 3s or 6s. You don't score 4.6 points better.
Yeah. Expected points added per play. So so the Jaguars so Titans obviously dead last in EPA, 32nd. Jaguars only 26th in EPA.
But again, that assumes you believe in EPA. I don't believe, and I'm not talking environmental protection association, whatever it is.
I mean, yeah. Look, there are positives and negatives to every metric. I trust EPA more than yards per play, for example, because there's because yards per play could be so.
Yards per play is a definite measure of what happens on the field. EPA is a statistical measure of what might happen if such and such conditions are met.
See, I don't really think that's necessarily true. Like,
in fact, I mentioned this on a show today, and I love analytics to a certain extent. But you know what analytics are? Excuses. They're excuses when you go with the analytics and the play doesn't work, and you say, "Well, analytics said to do it." And you know why? Because an analytic, let's say going for it on 4th down. Well, you're going to have, let's say it says, well, it's 57% that you're going to succeed. That's good. You know what? On this play, it's either going to be 0 or 100. You're going to succeed. Not 57% means nothing. It means over a vast number of situations, and you don't know what those situations are. 4th and 3 on the 4-yard line, 4th and 3 on your own 32-yard line, 4th and 3 at midfield, whatever it is. Analytics are nice, but they're guides. They're not gospel.
Yeah, but I think you look at yards to play, for example, if you have a team that's in a 3rd and 18. Actually, we saw this in the Carolina game, I think.
Okay.
I think Carolina was like in a 3rd and 18. Niners playing prevent on the play, and the Panthers get like a 15-yard play just because the Niners give it up. And
what did that do to the EPA? Because the same situation applies when you're figuring out EPA and factoring that play in there. Same condition.
I don't think that benefits the EPA more for Carolina than the yards per play. I mean, you get 15 yards per play. You're like, wow, this is a great play, but it really wasn't. What does Gronk?
No, it was because that's right. Environmental Protection Agency. That's what the A stands for, not assholes. But no. No. I mean, the difference is you still had that 15-yard play, regardless of the circumstances, prevent, defense, or whatever. That's still going to go into an EPA calculation, isn't it?
I don't think it factors in as much.
Well, no. I mean, I'm trying to understand what the calculation is. What ingredients, what factors go into EPA?
EPA it measures how much a play improves the team's scoring chances.
And how do they determine scoring chances? I mean, I can tell you if a 5-yard play improves the team's scoring chances more than a 3-yard gain.
But going from 3rd and 18 to 4th and 3 does not improve your scoring chances. You punt the ball regardless.
You might go for about 4th and 3.
Yeah, but in that area of the field, they were not going to. They're in their.
Well, that's a specific example. Okay,
right,
but I'm saying that in general it holds up. Yeah.
Right, that's factored in, like in their area of the field. It's all calculated. So like that, the EPA from that play would not benefit Carolina at all. Whereas the 15 yards gets factored in. You're like, wow, they got a 15 yards on the play, so great. But they
got 15 yards on the play, and so it factors into their scoring chances are better because when they turn the ball over, they've just gained 15 yards that the offense now has. The other team's offense has to make up for. So their scoring chances are improved anytime you gain yards. It may not be immediate, but in the flow of the game, it improves their chances for being the next team to score.
I mean, that's fair, but it's not going to be that substantial as a 15-yard play and factoring in a yard, like the average,
No, but keep in mind, yards per play also factors in kneel downs.
Yeah, I mean,
there are always weaknesses in virtually every statistic you can have, other than measurements like home runs. Okay, how many home runs? 30 is more than 30. 30 is more than 20. Okay, that's the thing. But per at bat, well, yeah, the more at bats you get, the lower your percentage is going to be if you're using the same number. That's just basic math. So I think a lot of these analytics have to be broken down and not just believed because they sound nice, but what do they really mean? How are they developed? And it's kind of like, and I use the example, let's say a running back, why does a team average 4.5 yards per rush rather than 4.3? Because a team that averages 4.5 yards per rush has more long rushes in there. So the denominator could be the same. They each run 50. They each have 100 rushes. One team gains they may gain 75 on a long run, as opposed to a team that gains 5, 8, 5, 10.
Right.
May have a better yard. The team that has the 75-yard in there is going to be having the better yards per rush because they've had, let's say, more rushes result in significant gains than the team that just plods away and maybe doesn't have quite as high a yards per rush. So it's a basic following that the more big plays you have, for example, the better your numbers are going to be. But isn't the idea to have as many big plays as possible?
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't always work out that way, but
I mean that obviously adds to the EPA as well. But you're mentioning the kneel downs that does not factor into EPA at all. So like kneel downs can adversely affect the yards per play, whereas like you don't really want it to, because if you're kneeling down, if a team kneels down like 6 times, like 3.
Well, see that's the same. That's again, and we've talked about this before. Garbage time yards. How do you define garbage time? When a team's down by 14 points? With half the play, or a team's down by 9 points with a quarter and a half to play. Again, that's a subjective determination, which is fine, but it has to be applied consistently, and it can't be, well, this is a better team, so they're less likely to give up. You can't make those subjective decisions. You can once you interpret the data, but you can't use the interpretation as a basis for setting the parameters.
I think that's an analytical thing, like percentage of a chance to win the game.
Yeah.
Just because they do that all the time. Like they'll flash on the screen. Chance to win in the game. 95%.
How do they determine that? Just let us know the formula, because maybe the formula doesn't make sense, or maybe that's a perfect formula and it makes perfect sense and we can all understand it. How do they get those 83%?
I don't know.
Are they saying that every team, regardless of quality of team and quality of opponent, in this situation with this much of a lead, with the ball, with X amount of time remaining, wins the game 83% of the time from that point going forward? That's a little bit more believable.
It could be. I mean, obviously, to look at where the ball is, the score, like the talent of the teams. No.
You can't take a look at the talent of the team, because now you're making a subjective decision.
Well, I mean, if you're behind by 14 with 5 minutes left, and you have Mahomes versus Max Brosmer, I mean, you have a better chance to win with Mahomes.
But that's an interpretation of it. Once you determine that you're more, that the percentages are there. Now, it would show up in the percentages, perhaps. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know exactly what their syntax is for that, but like that, the talent of the players should absolutely factor in, because
it affects whether they're going to achieve that 85%, perhaps.
Yeah,
but they don't always achieve it. Also, the question that I have, or the point that I'm making, is we don't know what some of these numbers that sound like they sound very authoritative, and maybe they are, but unless you know the ingredients that go into it, it's kind of like the NFL's quarterback rating system. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Maybe it doesn't have to, as long as it's applied consistently. We understand it. But it still may have absolutely nothing to do with how good the quarterback is. It's just how good his numbers are.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
it's kind of like the same thing. And I use this example because it's simple to understand. Yards per pass attempt, meaningless number. Why is it a meaningless number? Because the fact that part of those passes are incomplete don't tell you what happens when they're complete, which is when the yards are made. Percentage of completion, that's a meaningful number, because that says, okay, when the guy throws 100 passes, he completes 60 of them. Well, that's nice to know, as opposed to a quarterback who throws 100 times and completes 50% of them. Okay, the guy's got a better completion percentage. But suppose the guy who completes 60 passes gains 8 yards per completion, as opposed to the guy who completes 50% averages 11 yards per completion. That's a little bit more significant. That means when this guy completes a pass, the team is gaining more yards than the guy who completes a higher percentage.
Yeah.
So that's why I use yards per completion as a significant measure, because yards per attempt includes zeros when passes aren't completed.
But
and it's not because you gained 0 yards on a completion. It's because you didn't gain anything because the pass was incomplete.
Well, I mean,
it's kind of like the old the one that they still use, yards after contact or yards after catch.
Wouldn't you want to include the zeros though? Because I mean, if a quarterback the quarterback is 5 of 15 for X yards, and a quarterback is 5 for 6 for X yards, wouldn't the 5 for 6 guy just look better in the YPA if you count the zeros? Because otherwise yards per completion is the same.
No. What I'm saying is yards per attempt. I'm not talking yards per attempt is what we're measuring here.
I know, but you said you like yards per completion better, but that's what I'm saying. If a guy's like 5 of 20,
well, because that tells me what happens when something is successful.
But when you want to factor in how many times it's not successful?
Well, that's it. That's the yard. That's percentage completion.
Right.
Success versus failure. I want to know what happens. When you throw yards per attempt doesn't. Maybe what it tells you, yards per attempt, well, it means one of two things. Either you're not completing a lot of passes and therefore you're not getting better at making first downs, or you're completing a lot of short passes that mean that it takes 10 plays to go 50 yards instead of 6 plays.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all a matter of context before you get into, for me anyway, and what works for you and other people is fine, but I like to get conceptually into these things as far as, it's not that I like to point out flaws in things, but I want to understand where certain factors are being used that they make sense.
Yeah, you want to see the code. I mean, that's it's very understandable. I agree.
Well, sort of like that. I mean, because a lot of people will talk about yards per pass attempt. Well, that's nice, but a guy completes one pass for 100 yards and then goes 99. Passes that are incomplete. He averages 1 yard per completion. And infinitesimal, several inches per attempt.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So I mean, there's
so getting back to where we were. That's why I can't find really much to recommend Tennessee. Would I be shocked if Tennessee covers? No, because some of the factors you raised for Jacksonville are legitimate. I just happen to look at Jacksonville having a better capability of winning this game by a margin than Tennessee does of staying under it, because Jacksonville does many more things well, and Tennessee does many more things poorly.
I would agree with that, but I just don't like this Jacksonville team very much. Jaguars, Luke says Jacksonville horrible on the road and off a win, also fraudulent team. I feel the same way. And then Sue says it's a long season. Human nature says many look ahead and overlook teams they don't respect. Players watch film on Titans. It's hard for them not to laugh. The 1-10, I think. I almost actually forgot that this was a divisional game just because the Jaguars had the Colts ahead. I'm like, they'll look past the team. I'm like, wait a second, this is a divisional game, but I don't know.
That's where it comes into the coaches having the players focus and not laugh during film sessions, because you know what the coaches will do if they're smart coaches. Okay, you just saw that play where the linebacker got beaten. Here's a play that occurred, one drive later where the linebacker looked like the greatest player in the world to come in for a sack and cause a 15-yard loss. So that's how you get teams out of that overconfidence mood. I mean, Lou Holtz, was famous for saying, "Oh, we can't beat anybody. We're a horrible team." He knew his team was going to win, but he didn't want his team to be complacent, even though they were a 30-point favorite, and it worked more often than not. Okay.
But Dick Vermeil did that too.
Yeah, but that's what good coaches do. Coaches deal a lot in psychology, human psychology. And yes, what that last viewer said is true. Yeah, human nature. Well, coaches have to understand human nature and work to see that human nature does not come to play when you're talking about one of 17 games where each game is significant. A 3-game baseball series, you go 0-3, it's not going to matter over the long haul. But you lose one game that you should win. Well, that's the difference between 9-8 or 10-7, making the playoffs or missing the playoffs. So and it's not easy to do, especially when you're talking about 53-man rosters. You're not going to have 53 robots out there who all think, act, and perform the same. So the coach has to take a position that we need to convince in a realistic way, not a you got to be kidding me way, that the opponent represents a challenge, and here's why. They may fail on 70% of their plays, but 30% of the plays that succeed on, we want to make sure they don't succeed.
Yeah, when I was, anecdotal. When I was a coach, I coached the coach swimming, and I would see some of the kids would be aloof a little bit. I'd be like, hey, that guy? See that guy over there? He said our swim club sucks, and they get so angry and they get so
there you go
motivated. Yeah, so
well that's motivation. Now that's at a young level, but I'm talking as a professional.
Yeah, you got to. If I were an NFL head coach, I would have the local papers like smear the players from the other team. I'd be like, hey, player X on the team says our quarterback, he says
sucks.
his wife is ugly. He says his wife is ugly. Just stuff like that. Just like fake stories. I would run that if I thought my team was not going to show up. That's what I would do.
It's like convincing. It's like Buddy Ryan convincing his players that they need to have a bounty on the opposing teams.
Right, right. How's Raheem Morris?
Even if they didn't have a bounty, get the players to think. That how is Raheem Morris at human psychology? Well, first we have to determine A, if he's human, and B, if he understands psychology. But no, he's not a very good game coach.
No, he's not.
He might be very good in the locker room, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, but it's a crazy to stream Juwan Johnson over these tight ends. My buddy said the Dolphins were weak against tight end. They are the fifth worst defense against tight ends. So, I mean, you could do it. I mean, it's not like Juwan Johnson's worse than those guys.
No, but then you gotta figure out the team and the quarterback that's facing the Dolphins.
Yeah,
how capable is he of getting the ball to the tight end?
Well, 2 weeks ago he was pretty decent against the Panthers, so maybe he'll have a chance.
Wait a minute, was that the game? Was that the game they won 17-7?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway, let's get to the next game. I like this one more. Actually, it's the first Sunday game I like quite a bit. The Rams are at the Panthers. Rams are either -10 or -10.5, depending where you look. This is the what do we call this? The Walt and Andy special, because we discovered this how the Monday teams that play on Monday coming off a short week. If they're a bad team, they usually really struggle. If they're a good team, they're fine. I think we can characterize the Panthers as a bad team, even though they don't have a losing record. They have a negative point differential.
Oh, that's a horrible. They have a differential that suggests this team should probably be what are they 6-6? They should probably be 4-8, 5-7 at best.
Yeah,
with that differential.
Yeah, for sure. And the Panthers have injuries. They're down their top two linebackers Monday night. Now they might get one of them back, but still, they're going to be down their top corner, J.C. Horn. Sean McVay has to be paying attention to this, and he's an offensive guru. It's kind of like Kyle Shanahan Monday night when he saw that the two linebackers are out. He just attacked them over and over again with Kittle and McCaffrey, like we said they would. So I think the Rams have a nice scheduling edge in this game, even though they play an early game on the East Coast. Sean McVay is actually good in these.
And would you consider this a survivor play?
Oh yeah, they're one of the two teams I'd consider. And on the DraftKings Survivor, I have 5 entries, so it might be a 3-2 split either way with the Rams and Seahawks. I don't know. I might not have the Seahawks available in some entries, but I certainly have the Rams. So. I love the Rams.
By the way, Rams are now plus 350 to win the Super Bowl. They're the current favorite.
It's good for our exactas.
Kansas City is still 5-1. I think they're second or third choice. So
I have Rams Chiefs exactas, Rams Bills exactas, Rams Ravens exactas. So hopefully one of those, because they all pay about 80-1. So love to hit that. So I love the Rams here. What are your thoughts in this game?
I didn't really have much of an opinion on this one, and I needed to find some underdogs, and I thought because of the style of play and running the football and taking time off the clock could hang in there. So I think I put it down this week as probably just a lean towards Carolina plus 10.5 at the time. More about the Rams just going in there and doing what they need to get done to win the game. They are number 1 as far as allowing fewest points in the league, but they're only number 9 in fewest yards per game. The one big edge, they don't turn the ball over. They have half as many, a little bit less than half as many. They've turned it over 8 times, Carolina 17, and the Rams have created 20 takeaways this year. The Panthers just 14. Nothing distinguishing about the raw statistics. So I just had to throw an underdog in there, but it's a game I never considered playing either way.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I mean, if
Yeah,
anything, I might consider the Rams in a teaser, but I don't like teasing down from double digits.
so you're not following the Walt Andy special here with the bad team coming off a short week.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Um,
I mean, you have to say Carolina's a bad team, but the fact that they're 6-6 indicates that they've been able to be competitive in a lot of games.
yeah, I guess they did lose at home to the Saints by 10, so that's what the spread
Yeah.
is. So I don't know. I think the Rams could win easily. Richard asking, is this a
Well, yeah. You
letdown
wonder. You
spot?
wonder. Yeah. They just won. They just blew out. What was it? Tampa Bay.
Tampa. I mean, next week they have Arizona. Like, are they going to look
Yeah.
ahead to the Cardinals? Like, I don't think
Nah.
so.
Probably not.
So yeah.
No, but
So
I'm just saying that after a short week and having had a very easy victory, will the players bring the same intensity level against Carolina?
the short, not necessarily short weeks, but a few hours, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they played Sunday night, not Monday. So
Yeah.
and I mean, this is the short week for Carolina. Like, Carolina has to prepare for this.
Carolina. Yeah. Well, Carolina. Yeah. I mean, they're both flying across country from where they were.
Right.
Carolina flew from west to east, and now the Rams are flying. They'll be flying to the east.
See, I actually think that benefits the Rams because Sean McVay, for whatever reason, he and a handful of coaches have done really well on the East Coast. Whereas, like, beforehand, the old adage used to be, "Oh, fade these teams," because they used to play poorly. Like whenever Michael Holmgren, he had abysmal record.
In general, the overall results for the league as a whole, going from Pacific time zone to Eastern time zone and playing in that early window, not the 4 o'clock window,
Right.
but the 1 o'clock window. For many years, there was an advantage for the home team, but that advantage has dissipated in recent years significantly to where it's almost non-existent. Although there are certain coaches, like you point out with McVay, who do have, for whatever reason, been able to handle that situation. Look, we saw what McVay did when they went over to London.
Yeah.
What they arrive on Saturday morning or something?
Yeah, as
Against
very
Jacksonville, and they won it very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
36 and 34. So in the past, you're right, like, it used to be bad, but in the past 6 years, these West Coast teams playing at 1 o'clock on the East Coast, they are 56 and 34 against the spread.
That's impressive. Yeah,
that's really good, and it has to do with the coaching. The coaches have figured
now
this out.
how is it when the spread is, let's say, above a touchdown?
I don't know. I have to. That's a lot of plugging into the the database.
I thought that just adds one parameter.
Oh,
and point spread. Yeah,
I didn't. That's not a parameter I have. So in this Killer Sports database, they don't have time start. So how'd
you get that? How'd you get that? What was it? 56 and 34. How'd you get that number?
I hand tracked it. So
okay.
I've been tracking it for years. So
okay.
I wish that, again, that's another parameter I'd have on my database is start time. They don't have start time, so you have to guess, or you have to look, and it takes a lot of time. It's so difficult to do. So anyway, I think this could benefit the Rams just because McVay, for whatever reason, has been able to figure this out. Like I said, 11-6 against the spread for him, and really it should be 12-5 that Eagles game. He tends to do well, like you said.
Well, I wouldn't say 11-5 because there probably were some games in there where it went the other way that benefited them.
That could be true, yeah, maybe.
Again, we can always be selective. I just take the numbers for what they are, unless it's like a very small sample size, and you can really make a case. Because in larger numbers, it's probably almost an offset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rams trailed the halftime against the Titans and woke up 1 by 14. Yeah, that wasn't even the East Coast game. It was Central. So even that, you could add to it. So I'm sure you can add some other, subtract some other stuff. So, but yeah, anyway. So my point is that these coaches have McVay and Shanahan and McDonald now. They've done very well in these situations, and I think that they kind of have these teams extra prepared because they know in the past it's been a bad situation. So maybe this is not the letdown spot. I think if there's a letdown spot, might be next week against Arizona, because after Arizona, the Rams, I believe they play who they play after that. They play the Lions and then the Seahawks.
Well, that would be a look ahead spot then.
Right. So
Not a
yes.
letdown spot. Look at it.
Right. Yeah. So next week they have Arizona and then Detroit and Seattle. So that could be a trap games there. So
now, this could be a letdown spot to the extent that they had such an easy win against a winning football team last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you could argue that they didn't really do anything in the fourth quarter, so they could be a little bit more rested than the Panthers, who had to play in the fourth quarter. They had to play a pretty tough game. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the next game with Saints and Dolphins. This line was Dolphins -6, and now it's 5.5. They're they're bet 365 has a -6. So I don't know. It's scary to me how much I like this game. Like I really don't want to because both these teams are horrible. But I like the Saints and I think they can win outright here. The Dolphins are, despite their 3 wins coming into the bye, I really don't have much respect for them. If just look at what they can do well and what versus what they do poorly. The only thing they do well.
I asked the same question of the Saints though. What can they do well and what can they do poorly? Although, yes, if you're getting 6 points, you don't have to do all that much better than the other team.
Sure, yeah, this is not a pick'em game, right? So you're getting 6 points potentially. The only thing Miami does well here is they run the ball with Devon Achane extremely well. But the Saints are a good run defense. They're top 10.
They're slightly below league average, but not significant. They're like one or two rushes below league average. League average is 115. They allow 124 compared to Miami allowing 143, which is a significant difference.
Actually, an EPA, the Saints are 9th in run defense, so they're better in that metric. So it's not like the matchup Miami had against Washington, where Washington had these ultra slow linebackers. The Saints have good linebackers, so it figures that they should be able to contain Achane for the most part. And if you contain Achane, I really don't see what Miami's going to do, given their horrible offensive line. Tua sometimes completely erratic. He says he can't see over the line of scrimmage. Sometimes he has decent games, but and then the other side of the ball, Miami cannot get to the quarterback at all. They have an abysmal pass rush. Their secondary is a disaster. They can stop the run well, but that's about it. So I think the Saints should be able to move the ball with, if Tyler Shuck can play like he did against Carolina. He could get the ball to Olave, Juwan Johnson. We just mentioned Miami can't stop tight ends at all. So I think this is an even game. I have these teams ranked evenly. If you want to argue Miami is like a half a point better, I could see that, but it's still, that would make Miami -2. And as we said before, Miami, a horrible team coming off a win and a bye, just a disastrous situation. So yeah, I think the Saints can win outright. I think they're a live dog here at +6 or +5.5. I like them quite a bit here, which is scary to me because they're so bad. So what are your thoughts?
It's hard to like a bad team quite a bit. You can like them, but because they're a bad team for a number of reasons, and that is because they find ways to not win games that they should win. Like, for example, the Arizona Cardinals come to mind. I actually have this game priced at about 6 for Miami, but I don't have and I went with Miami as a lean, but nothing very strong. The concern I have is for the Saints, they don't run the ball.
Right.
Not that Miami is much better, but at least, let me see here. Let me get New Orleans here. New Orleans is 92 yards per game rushing. That's 29th in the league. They are going up against a number 29 rush defense in Miami, who gives up 143. So maybe they can have some success there. I thought Miami would have a larger edge offensively than they do. It's really not very much at all. Defensively, the Saints do have the better numbers, although they are allowing more points per game. Again, it's one of those leans that I had to put out there one way or the other, but I would seriously doubt this game, although I do like Miami as far as perhaps winning the game, so maybe I tease this game down to pick them.
So from what you said, it seems like you have these teams about even. So I'm curious.
No, the numbers are, but because my power ratings take into account other statistics that do favor Miami quite a bit, especially. Well, let me see if I have it here.
Yeah, I'm curious what statistics.
Yeah, let me see what it is here.
Because I can't really find anything. I made this line Miami -1.5. So I'm way off.
Well, no, our numbers are not going to necessarily agree. Let me just see if this is the one that I was looking for.
Right, so
Yeah, no, I can't find it right now, but it's based, I think, because I had the thought earlier, but I can't remember exactly what it was. And it wasn't quality of competition because that's about the same. I guess it's just the way that these teams have played throughout the season. Miami has shown me more things. What's New Orleans' best win this year?
Well, they have not played much easy competition, at least until recently. Their Saints' best win, they only have 2 wins. Their best win is either 17-7 at Carolina or 26-14 over the Jackson Dart Giants.
Okay, and Miami managed to beat Buffalo.
Yeah, a Buffalo team that didn't show up. So
doesn't matter. They're still 11-11.
I think I don't know. I think it matters. The Bills were a complete no-show. They didn't try.
Well, they tried. They just didn't
execute. And the Saints almost beat the Saints almost beat the Bills too.
But they didn't. I know it was on the road. I know.
Brandon Cooks, who, by the way, not even on the team anymore. If he catches a touchdown instead of dropping it, the Saints take a lead in the fourth quarter.
Doesn't mean they hold it. And again, sure. we continue it. We cannot play the if game. Because you have to play what was. Potential is if. Teams with better potentials don't have, maybe they don't have as many if situations occur, but every game has if situations. We have to look at what happened because these teams do not play according to form, and you can't handicap ifs because you can't predict them. Just like you can't, the only thing I used, for example, in a situation like that as far as handicapping, turnovers lost. You can somewhat handicap those teams that have a tendency to maybe they don't hold the ball correctly, maybe they make poor decisions throwing the ball, but they have to make a decision to cause the turnover. Okay, who recovers the turnover is a matter of just being in position. He was in position to intercept it, or after 16 people touched the ball, he was the one to come up on the fumble. But ifs, again, those are excuses to explain something that people don't agree with or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like a pass that goes to a receiver and he could either caught it or dropped it. I know you can factor in the talent of that receiver, but then again, that receiver's not
even the best receivers drop passes. Look at CD Lamb.
Yeah, I know.
But they're also going to make some catches that other receivers won't.
Yeah,
that's the trade-off.
Yeah, I know.
Again, a football game is rarely, if ever, decided by one play, or even a half dozen plays.
Well, unless you're the Cardinals, then every game is decided by one play.
One-score games, but
except for the 2 Rams-Seahawks games.
Yeah, and the Tennessee game.
Yeah,
although that was 2 plays that both went against Arizona.
Right, DeMarcado doesn't drop the ball; they go up 28-6. So that's a completely different story.
Or the week before with Indianapolis against the Rams.
Yep. It's kind of crazy that happened back to back.
I mean, all these things. That's what makes this exercise so difficult, so challenging, is because there are things are going to happen, or likely to happen. You just don't know when, where, what the circumstances are. A penalty on a 98-yard kick return or something. That instead of or a run that sets you up on the opponent's 30, now all of a sudden you're back on your own 5. And you cannot handicap them specifically. You could say over a large number of games, this event is likely to occur X% of the time, but you don't know when that's going. It's like even in handicapping. Okay, let's say in these in the Circa Millions or the Westgate Super Contest, I'm going to hit 60% this year. I'm going to make 90 plays, and I'm going to go. 54 and 36. Okay. But I don't know what that sequence is. I'd love to say I'm going to go 3 and 2 every week, 3 and 2, 3 and 2, 3 and 2, 3 and 2 for 18 weeks and end up 54 and 36. But that's not reality. Right. I may end up hitting my first 10 picks and give those 10 picks back over the next 6 weeks and then make a recovery and end up 54 and 36, but not getting there the way that you would think to, that you would like to, that you think you can. And it's not that because of the game of football and the way that things occur. And I'd love to see the NFL cut its rule book by about 90%.
I agree.
Penalties are destroying the game, and there are a lot of penalties that are iffy. You can call pass interference offensive or defensive on every play downfield where there's contact between the receiver.
Oh, yeah.
So at what point do you just say, unless it's egregious, and that's an opinion, but it's reviewable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, limit it. Get away with the offensive holding penalties.
Yeah, you can call that in every play. It's outrageous.
Get away with the illegal formation penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Let the offense do whatever it wants. Look, put the tush push. That's an illegal formation, you could argue.
Right.
At least it will be, but no, there are way too many rules that affect not just the handicapping of the game and the playing of the game, but the enjoyment of the game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just way too many. It's obscene. So we totally agree with that.
So anyway, probably I won't be playing Miami, but I do favor the spot for them because they at least have shown some fight lately, as opposed to New Orleans, which just hung around. I mean, I think they won that Carolina game because Carolina really did. You talk about Buffalo not showing up. I don't think Carolina showed up in that game, and they took a 7-0 lead in that game, as I recall.
They did, yeah. That's certainly fair. And I think maybe we see Miami no show because they've been hearing about how great that win was in Spain 2 weeks in a row, and
it could very well be. They could come out very flat.
Yep, absolutely.
They're not going to make the playoffs. And who do they have coming up next?
The Jets.
But again, I don't believe. What's that?
The Jets. They have next.
Oh, at New York. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not that I believe. Like I say, I don't put as much stock in as players looking ahead and causing them to fail to concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
When you're out there playing, you're not thinking about the game you're playing next week. Now, maybe it shows up in practice where you're not going 100%, but I don't think when you're out there on the playing field, we're one play closer to playing the Jets next week.
Yeah.
But again, on my part, that's just conjecture as well.
Yeah. Luke's saying backdoor wide open in Carolina where they play better. Well, I'll counter with this, Luke. The one time the Panthers have played a home game against this caliber of opponent, Rams, Bills, they lost 40-9 to Buffalo. So
yeah.
I don't.
Well, that was also a very good spot for Buffalo. Weren't they coming off? Were they coming? I think they were coming off their bye week, and they just lost. I think game or two.
They lost.
Was that the Atlanta loss or the New England loss?
New England and Atlanta loss. Yeah.
Back to back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the bye. Yeah. So, I know you've already moved past lines back, but wasn't there some very one-sided trend against teams often overtime playing on Thursday? Yeah, I believe teams playing on Thursday coming off overtime are like 7-24 against the spread or something like that. And I will mention that on the site, but it didn't quite feel like an overtime game just because the Lions.
It was only like 2, 3. The Lions run one offensive play, and the Giants run about 6 or something.
Right. It was barely an overtime, so that's so that's why I didn't mention it. But yeah, that technically. Sure.
Well, it also involves pace of play. I mean, you could in a regular 60-minute game, a team could run 70 plays. In an overtime game, that same team could run 60.
Right, that's true.
Pace of play, a number of times you're banging heads could be a lot less. Oh, I won't say a lot less, but they could be certainly less than what you play in a regular game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
A 60-minute game.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's get to the next game. Falcons at Jets. The Falcons are -2.5. I wrote this on the site. This feels like a Black Friday sale where you're like, you get to fade the Jets at only -2.5. That's what it feels like. Kirk Cousins looked better than a lot of people thought last week. Even his one interception that was bounced off the hands of Kyle Pitts. So I guess the demise of his career greatly exaggerated. I think he should play well against the Jets. The Jets have a defense that lost Quinton Williams and Sauce Gardner, so they are devoid of talent in a lot of areas there. And then, Bijan Robinson should do well against this run defense. And the Jets really don't have much of an offense. And Atlanta's defense, they are better than I think people give them credit for. Their pass defense especially really good. So they should be able to basically contain this Jets passing offense very easily. It's kind of spearheaded by John Mechie and Adonai Mitchell, just really, really non-talents here. Falcons run defense is bad, but given how limited Tyrod Taylor is, I think they should be able to play closer to the line of scrimmage. And so, I like Atlanta here. it's like almost feels like a trap at -2.5, but I really don't think so. And I think the public is like not that big on the Falcons, so maybe it's not that much of a trap. So, what are your thoughts on this game, Andy? Because I like the Atlanta, not a lot, but a decent amount.
Jets win this game outright.
Okay, why?
They can run the football. They match up nicely in the running game. I am concerned about their passing attack, but I do like also their pass defense. These teams are 8-10 against the pass, separated by only 4 yards per game that they allow. Atlanta does have the better passing game, but again, part of it is Cousins, part of it is Penix. So I don't separate those two. They do have a little bit better edge running the ball, slightly better, again, using the raw numbers at stopping the run. No big significance there. The one glaring, the most amazing statistic this year, they have played, 11 games? Mm-hmm. Jets have forced 1 takeaway.
That's crazy.
But then again, they haven't faced Kirk Cousins yet. So
that's true.
And the Jets, again, I think the move to Taylor was definitely a positive one. He is experienced. How much of a difference he's going to make, I'm not really sure. The defensive numbers on the raw numbers they're separated by like 1 yard per game defensively. So let me take at those secondary numbers that I look at the yards per play. Atlanta, the better offense. They're about the same on defense. Running the ball, the Jets have an edge both in yards per rush, offense and defense. Passing numbers favor Atlanta on the offense. They're about the same on defense. And again, because of forcing just that 1 takeaway, the Jets are -13 in turnover margin. But it just seems like it's a good spot for the Jets. 2-9. And let me see what their point differential is. Their point differential is they're outscored by about 6.5 points per game. Double that of Atlanta. So it's just one of those senses that I get that the Jets have been playing better recently than early on, and Atlanta is just inconsistent. Yeah, especially on the road. Now they did get the road win, but what happened when we went down? Who was it? To Carolina earlier this year.
Yeah, that was off the national TV win.
I don't care. I don't care what it was off of. What they do, they're a pro football team.
Well, it's Raheem Morris.
No excuses.
That's what we talked about. Raheem Morris psychology.
Well, he's coaching in this game too.
That's true. That's true. I can't argue that.
Coaching.
Well, coaching in quotes. I don't know if that's what he's doing, but technically,
he's going to be wearing the headset on the sideline. Let's put it that way.
I guess.
What music station he's listening to, I don't know. But
should give him like a coloring book. You should give him a coloring book and like distract them for 3 hours.
Yeah. No, this is not a game. I will be playing the Jets on the money line. I want to see if they bet Atlanta up another half point or so. It's not a game that there'll be better games for me to watch at that time.
Yeah, well, that's certainly true. All right, last of the early games, 49ers at the Browns, the Fighting Shadors. The 49ers are -4.5 or 5. So they are also coming off a short week, but as we determined, good teams coming off short weeks are just fine. They can function normally. Again, East Coast game. Kyle Shanahan has done very well in that regard too. About the same record as Sean McVay. I think he's like 10-6 instead of 11-6, so still pretty good. I think I made this line a little bit lower than it is. I made it like -4. I know Evan made it -3. He'll talk about this game ad nauseum tomorrow, I'm sure, given that he's a Niners fan. So I think this line is a little too high. It's not like high enough where I'm automatically going to bet the Browns or anything like that. I have concerns about Shedeur Sanders, despite what we saw from him against the Raiders. He had that amazing 66-yard touchdown to Sampson where he dumped off the ball and Sampson did the rest. So Shedeur, I mean, look, he played better than I thought he would. He didn't drift back in the pocket as much as I thought. So that was at least encouraging. What's not encouraging was Brock Purdy on Monday night. Just those 3 interceptions.
Oh, that was horrible. All in the first quarter, wasn't it?
At least on the first half. I'm not sure the quarter breakdown, but he was atrocious, and I'm just wondering if he's 100%. Kyle Shanahan is amazing when he can just kind of take advantage of a team's liabilities. That's his forte, and he did that against the Panthers because the Panthers are missing 2 linebackers, and then eventually their top corner. So he was able to really expose their weaknesses here. The Cleveland Browns have no.
I'm not sure I'm not sure that they can do that against Cleveland, which is why I like Cleveland plus the points in this game. Weather could be bad, so it might be a nice little under game. And San Francisco, 10th in yards, 15th in points. But that's better than Cleveland. No, that's offense. Cleveland 31st in yards, 29th in points. So there's a good correlation there.
Yeah.
But they've allowed it. A lot of their bad numbers defensively, whatever they are, come from those, at least from points, comes to that game that they lost early in the season at Baltimore, which was a very competitive game until everything just went wrong in the fourth quarter. San Francisco's turned the ball over 18 times this year. That's number 27 as far on an average per game. Cleveland a little bit better, 1.2 times per game. Cleveland forcing a little bit more as far as takeaways go. Neither team can rush. They're both rushing for under 100 yards per game, 99 and 95. And they're both allowing just over 100 yards per game, rushing 100 1 and 102. So that's pretty much a trade-off, at least as those numbers go. The interesting matchup is the San Francisco passing game, which ranks number 3rd in terms of yards per game against 171 allowed by Cleveland, which is 2nd in the league. And, again, you mentioned about Purdy. We don't know, is he fully recovered or is he starting to play to the level? I mean, Shanahan's got a lot out of him, but is he playing to the level that made him the final pick in the draft that year?
Right, right.
If they went to Mac Jones, I would not be all that upset if I'm a 49ers fan.
Evan said the same thing to me via text. He said they should bench him. So I don't know if he's healthy. That's a big problem. So
let me just see here. Yards per play, both of them are negative. I'm not surprised about Cleveland because they have no offense. Number 32, 4.2 yards per play on offense, 4.7, which is number 5 on defense, but that's still minus 0.05. What is surprising is San Francisco, 5.4 yards per play on offense, which is 15, 5.6 allowed, which is number 24. A little bit less of a negative, but I would expect Cleveland to have a negative yards per play differential because of the offense. I would not expect San Francisco to have a yards per play negative number because of their defense.
Right. Yeah.
As far as yards per rush, Cleveland has a slight edge in that one. Yards per pass completion. San Francisco has the edge there. So my numbers suggest that the 49ers should be favored by more than they what's the number in this game? You say 5.5?
4.5 or 5.
4.5. That I have them favored by 7. But that's such a the difference between 4.5 or 5.5 and 7. When you get down to it, it's like basically not even a field goal. So there could be some errors here. The point is, I expect it to be because I rely on defense so much, and when there's a significant edge, as there seems to be here, almost a full yard per play, I tend to go with the defense because if you don't allow any points, you can't lose the game.
Right.
The worst that could happen is 0-0. Now, I don't expect Cleveland not to lose the game. I mean, look, I loved them last week against the Raiders. And what happened on the first series of the game, I think it was, they blocked the punt. They go in, take a 7-0 lead, and they were, never headed after that. I don't expect that to happen here. But I think Cleveland is a better team than its record shows.
Yeah, I agree with that. So looks like we're both on the Browns here. Let me see where I put this one because I like it a little bit more. Yeah, I put it in the best of the rest category, meaning it's a playable opinion. Yeah, I feel the same way. So we can move on and we can go to the Vikings at Seahawks game. A close friend of mine, and I won't mention his name because he comes on the show sometimes. And you guys will know why when I say this. He texted me and he said, if I were a betting man, should I bet? Are you
saying that he's not?
I'm saying that he is, but he can't say it because of his job.
Okay. I think I got you.
Yeah. So he said, if I were a betting man, should I bet
my house? He bet it all on Seattle.
Bet my house on Seattle. Yes. Because he is, he
must be a Vikings fan.
He used to be from the Minnesota area. He worked there for a long time, so he's an Eagles fan, but he's not a Vikings fan per se. But he watched his team for a
Right.
while. So you have Max Brosmer against the Seattle defense. That's number one or
What
number
insurance
two.
company does he work for?
I believe it's one of those it's Cure Auto Insurance, right? With
Okay.
the Saquon Barkley commercials that are terrible. I don't
Oh,
know
okay.
do you get those in Las Vegas? I figured that they might be local because he's Philly.
We've gotten a few of them, but I don't recall them offhand. I mean, there was one that I really liked.
Well, there's the Saquon commercial was so bad. Like he's giving a press conference, and one of the reporters like, Saquon, how do you feel? Do you think you're going to win MVP this year? And he goes, I already have my MVP, most valuable policy. and so
Oh,
the reporters
that
laugh.
one I may not have seen. Yeah.
Yeah, the reporters laugh, and then this one reporter woman in the back, she goes, "From who, Saquon?" And he goes, "Cure Auto Insurance. Trust me, they're the cure." And it just says just like monotone. It's the worst commercial ever. If you guys haven't seen it, look it up. It is so bad. Anyway, that is maybe Max Brosmer is gonna be the next guy here once Cure Auto Insurance goes out of business. Yeah, you have a couple of things here. You have Max Brosmer, who's in all seriousness, he's from New Hampshire. He's a smart.
He's a rookie, or at least he's a first-year player. And I think didn't he go to
undrafted.
University of Minnesota?
I thought he went to New Hampshire. I thought.
Maybe he's from New Hampshire. I thought I read him from the University of Minnesota. Let me see.
I don't. So yeah, he went to Minnesota. I thought he went to New Hampshire. Maybe he was in New Hampshire for a while. Let me see. College. He played for New Hampshire for 4 years, and then he transferred to Minnesota.
Transferred to Minnesota. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So he's a smart quarterback. He's his like footwork is sound and stuff like that. He's not a raw guy. But the problem is that he has no arm strength. He has no mobility. He's just not going to be a legit quarterback. Maybe, just maybe, he could be a number two for a while, but I don't even think that's going to be the case. Yeah. Although he is the number two in Minnesota right now. So he's going against Seattle's defense.
By the way, just I'm gonna have to get off of here at the top of the hour.
Okay.
So I gotta speed through some. Yeah. Okay. I wish I could stay on, but I got a lot of people putting contest things in tonight.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. All right. So let's speed. So yeah, Brosmer against one of the best defenses. I say whenever you have a terrible quarterback on defense on a team that's not good, whenever they play against a top 10 defense, like they usually perform very poorly. It's like a 30. I've tracked this before. I don't have the exact numbers. It's like a 33-35% cover rate. And then on the other side, you have the elephant in the room, Sam Darnold revenge game. I guarantee his teammates are going to want to win this for him. So I think Seattle.
It's funny because I was having a discussion with my friend Alan, who's getting that entry, and we were talking about does he want to play, Seattle this week against Minnesota, and he also brought up the revenge factor.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much revenge there is, considering he went from Minnesota that probably decided we can't afford him to a $100 million contract. He should thank Minnesota. He should thank Minnesota by fumbling on the first play of the game to show his appreciation for being released, or not re-signing him because he went to a better football team.
Yeah, they could have paid him though.
I don't know what their salary cap. I thought I read something about salary cap considerations.
Well, salary cap considerations is lingo for owner being cheap because as the Eagles and Saints have proven that the cap is fake. We have Kenny on Tuesdays, who runs the capisfake.com, where he breaks down why the salary cap is fake in the NFL. It just really comes down to how much the owner wants to spend. So I do think this is revenge. Like they chose McCarthy over him. It'd be sweeter if McCarthy were playing in this game, but still Brosmer looks terrible here. So I love Seattle in this game. I would have made this higher than 14. What are your thoughts here?
What is the line right now?
11.5.
No, I would have made it. I would have made it closer to 14 or 15. I can't. Let me see where I put this one. My guess is I have Seattle, but I'm just guessing. Just trying to remember how strong it was, because I could make a case for it being stronger if I had it other than a lean here. So let me just play around with these papers. because I do think Seattle is, how are they going to come back? They sort of, I won't say sleptwalked because they were up nice in that game against Tennessee last week. Okay, here are we. I just had it as a lean. Mine at minus 10.5 Seattle over Minnesota. So that's the side I like. And more I go through the week, I'm thinking I'm liking it a little bit more. It may be a contest play.
Yeah. What about a lot? McCarthy was the quarterback. Yeah, you know what? I kind of would prefer that almost because there's an unknown factor with Rosmer, but what is he going to give us here? Seattle is. I'd be shocked if they don't make it on my card for the contest.
Let me just see, and again, I don't put a lot of stock into it in most cases, but I do like to know who they do have coming up as far as not necessarily look ahead other than maybe taking some players out in the second half if it's a one-sided game. They're at Atlanta. They probably will play 5 quarters, all these players for next week's game.
Right,
they don't need to rest anybody for that game.
Yeah, definitely not. So, okay, let's go to the next game, which is Bills at Steelers. Bills are minus 3.5 here. We have the Bills coming off a loss. So they've had extra time to think about.
And they lost to a good team. I still consider Houston a good team. My numbers show they're a good team.
Yeah.
I think we disagree where we have them rated. Again, I just use the numbers. I don't put any categories. The numbers speak to me based upon the linear regression that I use. I actually have Rams, Seattle, Indianapolis, Houston.
Oh, you have Houston number 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's a combination because they don't lose by margins for the most part, and they play good teams tough.
Okay. I really,
but I'm just saying that I actually, and I have Buffalo 9th.
Okay, interesting. So wow,
I only have which means I would have Houston favored, but I don't know which side you like, but obviously I'm trying to say I like Buffalo in this game.
Yeah, I do too.
Against Pittsburgh, yeah.
Yeah, against Pittsburgh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean the Bills coming off a loss with more time to think about it. They've been told how bad they were for a long time, for a week and a half. So I like Buffalo here from a spot standpoint and from a matchup standpoint. Pittsburgh's defense has been horrible. Yeah. We don't know yet if Aaron Rodgers is going to play.
I heard that he's probable now. I think I heard it this afternoon.
Okay, he was DNP today with the left wrist, so that's why I was wondering about that. Also, DK Metcalf DNP, so their only viable receiver is probably going to be out, and Rodgers is either going to be out or he's going to be probably not 100% because he didn't practice today. So you have that against Pittsburgh as well. Yeah, it sounds like we're on the same side here for sure.
And Pittsburgh another team that can't run the ball.
No, they can't do anything.
Which means that for the most part, they may not be able to take advantage of the Buffalo defense against the run, which is 30th. On the other hand, Pittsburgh's about average stopping the run, but Buffalo leads the league 147 yards per game, and I think it's about 5 yards per carry. Buffalo is 5 yards per carry. They allow 5.3, and Pittsburgh averages 4.0, and they allow 4.2. So they both allow more yards than they gain, but Buffalo's better at gaining it, and they have the better passing numbers.
Yeah, I'll say this about Buffalo's run defense. Like, I think it will be better at some point because Matt Milano has been playing hurt, and he's such a key to the run defense. And maybe this week and a half off will help get him healthy. I certainly think there's a chance that happens. So I don't know if it'll be this week, but eventually Buffalo's run defense maybe it won't be great or anything. But if they're league average, then if that's their biggest weakness, then they're going to look good in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Raiders. We have 3 more games. Raiders, the Chargers. Raiders are, Chargers are minus 9.5. BetMGM has minus 10 listed. We briefly touched on this game earlier. From what I gathered from you, I think you like the Chargers, but we'll see. I would side with the Raiders here, despite their.
To me, it's either Chargers or pass.
Okay, interesting. For me, it's
Raiders. Go ahead, but I mean. What positives can you say about the Raiders? I know the negatives you can say about the Chargers. Keep in mind they've had a week off to address those issues, and it's Jim Harbaugh, not Raheem Morris, who's doing the adjusting.
Yes, and that's why I'm ultimately not going to bet the Raiders, is because the Jim Harbaugh factor. What if he figures something out with the offense? I could
Yeah.
certainly see that. Positives about the Raiders, there aren't going to be that many, but I don't really see many positives about the Chargers either. Not say
Defense.
that this. Well, I'd
Defense
say,
going up against an inept offense. Chargers
Mhm.
score 13 points and cover this game.
Yeah, but they may not score 13. They, like I said, they scored 6
Why?
against the
Gino's
Jacksonville
good for
defense.
2 turnovers.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I was thinking like they scored 6 against the Jacksonville defense, ranked 24th.
That's one game. That's one game.
Yeah, but
They scored 38 in a couple of other games.
Not recently though. Like what they against the what was that game that they had?
What they score against
recently?
Pittsburgh?
Well, Pittsburgh Pittsburgh gave up at the end, but they scored 25 against Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But really, it was 18. I think like that last drive.
Let's not talk about these things out there. They're all part of the game because they're all. Remember, regardless of how you get there, that's how they pay off on the tickets.
Yeah, if you look at how they've done without Joe Alt, so they scored, they scored like 18 against the Giants, who have a horrible defense, 27 against the Titans.
That was on the road. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is basically on the road too, with the Raiders coming in.
But it's not. It's not on the road, and we don't know what the crowd will be. There's a little more excitement now since Harbaugh came to Los Angeles, came to the Chargers.
You think? Really?
Well, they made the playoffs in his first year.
Yeah, but they don't really have fan. I felt like they should have moved to like Oklahoma City.
And remember, the Raiders don't necessarily need to go to LA now because they got 8 games at home every year, 8, 9 games at home every year. The Raider fans.
Yeah, but
maybe the Raider fans from LA, but they also come to Vegas.
Yeah, but if they're in prison, they're not going to get the furlough to go to Vegas. It's across state lines.
Yeah.
So they scored 10 against Washington. I don't trust this team. But you're right about Harbaugh having the week off. So that's the one thing I'll say here. But I think Max Crosby can give those tackles a big problem. Limiting Justin Herbert and just like this whole Chargers offense, they can't block at all. So I just think this line is too high given the Chargers the offensive inefficiencies with their no tackle play. I made this line like 7.5 or so. I think this is a touch too high, and I think this is going to be a defensive struggle for the most part. But if Gino gives the game away with 2 picks, then that's certainly going to be a win for the Chargers. So I'm not betting this game. I'm just this is a very, very small lean to the Raiders. So you said Chargers nothing, right?
Yeah, well, I do like the Chargers. I'm taking a look. They scored 6 against Jacksonville before the bye. Prior to that, 25, 27, 37, 24, 29, and a number of those games were without Alt. They did struggle, I think, the first couple of games without him, 10 and 18, and they scored 23, 20, 27 going backwards. So they've actually scored decently, and they did have 2 really bad games defensively as far as points allowed. They allowed 38 in the 38-24 loss to Indianapolis at home, and then they allowed 35 in that 35-6 loss at Jacksonville. But other than that, going backwards, 10, 20, 10, 27, 27, 21, 29, and 21. I'm not sure that the Raiders, they've played 11 games and they're only averaging 15 points per game, and now they're going up against an above average defense. I'd have to think that, I don't know what the Raiders total number is in this game. Maybe the over under 16.5.
Well, what's the total? Total's 40.5.
Yeah.
So what's
so
that
40 and what's the line about? Let's say 10.
25, 15.
Yeah.
25, 15ish. So 15 or 15.5, I would say is the.
But they're going up against again using the simple ones of yards. Number 5 in yards, number 10 in points allowed. Let's see. Defense, number 4 against the pass, and the Raiders can't pass the ball. Of course, they can't do much of anything. 79 yards per game. We talked about that before. That's 1 yard away from being tied for number 32. Looking at the secondary stats, let's see. Chargers average 5.4 yards per play rather. Raiders allow 5.2. And then there's negative the other way, going from the Raiders to the Chargers, Raiders offense to defense. And now you have trying to get a new system in with what is it? Greg Olson coming in, taking moving from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator, and having just less than a week, really, well, a week to prepare. There just seems to be turmoil with the Raiders. I think they let their special teams coach go a few weeks ago. It's just a very messy situation for the Raiders. And the Chargers, again, they're battling with the Broncos and the Chiefs right now. The Chargers are 7-4, Chiefs are 6-5, and the Broncos are in control of the division at 9-2. So again, the Chargers can't take a weak opponent lightly.
I do love the Greg Olson switch. I think he's a brilliant offensive guy, and
he just doesn't have the players.
Sure, right, but he is someone
and
who
you mentioned you mentioned it yourself. Who's the league leader in yards before contact?
Yeah,
the worst.
Yeah,
and that's the offensive line.
Greg Olson,
as bad as the Chargers' offensive line might be, miles better than the Raiders.
Yeah, Greg Olson had Josh Freeman playing in the Pro Bowl once upon a time. That's how impressive he was. And he was the coordinator of the Jaguars when Blake Bortles had that amazing year.
Yeah.
So he's but he
had better offensive lines with those quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's certainly true. So we'll see. We'll see. He's not going to be worse than Chip Kelly. He's going to be better. So we'll see.
I am considering the Chargers. Let me see where I had this one. I think I said I had it as or maybe I didn't say what I had it as. I do have it as a playable opinion at -9.5. So that might make it on my card again, because you're going with an above average. Where do you have the Chargers? B or C? B?
C.
Or do you have them C because of the offensive line? Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you have the Raiders? F?
Yeah.
Are the Raiders F?
The Raiders are F, yeah.
Are they only F team, or do you have a couple of others with them?
I have 6 F teams.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
I think you got to. Yeah, but I think when you go from the bottom up, there has to be a significant gap between the Raiders and whoever's number 31.
Oh, I don't have the 32 though. I mean,
no. Where do you have
31?
Who do you have worse than the
Titans?
Okay.
The Saints.
Where do you have Cleveland? What grade?
D.
D. Even with that defense?
Yeah.
Even with that defense that allowed them to, hammer another F team, but the offense. But when you have as good a defense as they have, you don't need to do that much on offense other than avoid mistakes. You're in every game, unless you're going up against a powerhouse offense.
So you would rank the Browns as an average team then, as if they should be in Group C? I don't think they're.
I would put them in C to C minus.
Well, I mean, I don't have C minus, but so if I put them in Group C, then they're an average team. The Browns, I don't consider them average. I consider them the below average, which is D.
Well, again, you base it on wins and losses. Yeah, you certainly have them there.
Yeah,
but then again, where do you have the Bears? You probably have them as a C.
Yeah. So the teams in Group F, I don't know if you want to guess them. I have Jets at number 30. I have the Redskins at 29. I have the Saints at 28 and Dolphins at 27. Those are the Group F teams I have.
Okay, I don't know that they would all be F teams if I would rate them that way. Let me see who okay, I'll go with my key numbers. I actually have. Well, here are the 6 teams that I have at the bottom, and they're only separated by like 3 points before there's a bit of a gap. Mm-hmm. Reading upwards from 32: Cincinnati, number 31, Las Vegas, New Orleans, Jets, Cleveland, Tennessee. So I do have Cleveland towards the top of this bottom group, but I would say the 2 bottom teams, because there's actually a gap between Cincinnati, Las Vegas, and then New Orleans, who I have ranked number 30. Almost a 2-point gap there. So I would say Las Vegas and Cincinnati. Where do you have Cincinnati ranked? F?
I had them. They've been bouncing around because of Flacco's health. So I had him in Group D for a while. Then when Flacco had his shoulder injury, I moved into F because we might see Browning again. And then now that Burrow's back, I said if Burrow is 100%, I would put them in Group C. But if Burrow's not healthy, then they would be D again. So
okay, yeah. See, and I have them again on the strength, and that's the wrong word. It's the weakness of their defense. which compromises the offense, regardless of who's at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
If it takes 40 points to win a game as opposed to 30, that's a concern, because most teams are capable of routinely scoring 30. At least a number of teams are. None are capable of routinely scoring 40.
Right.
Unless they play the Bengals every week, but that's only 1 or 2 games a year.
Yeah.
No, so I actually have a break between Cincinnati, Las Vegas, and then the next teams in really close in this group are New Orleans, the Jets, Cleveland, Tennessee. Then I have a little bit of a gap. Then the gap is sort of narrow: Washington, Carolina, Miami, the Giants, Minnesota, Chicago, and Atlanta. And then going up from there, there's a little bit of a 2-point gap. Number 19, Dallas, which is right there, slightly behind Arizona and Pittsburgh. Chargers I have at number 16. And then we don't really have much of a gap until we get really to the top 4 teams. Top 3 teams, actually. Actually, the top 2 teams, Seattle and the Rams.
I really want to ask you about Washington, why you don't have in the bottom. That feeds into this next game. Broncos at Washington.
Well, again, my ratings do not take into account injuries, whether the results were achieved a week ago or a month ago or at the start of the season. They are just the numbers, and they're based on how you do and how you do it and what teams you do it against.
Okay, so for me, if Jaden Daniels were playing, the Redskins would not be in Group F.
No.
They would be much higher. But I'm factoring in Marcus Mariota here with an abysmal defense. Their linebackers are so slow, like painfully slow, and they're going against a running back who's so fast, and RJ Harvey.
Well, you're basing your ratings on yours. Yours are basically static ratings to the extent that they're based on right now, regardless of where they were 2-3 weeks ago. Which where are they right now? Which makes it there's a lot to be said for that. They're different than, but again, you're also using subjective to place them in the groups. I mean, which is okay if it works.
Handicapping is subjective, isn't it? Is it not? So
interpretation is subjective, but how you rate the teams, if you are rating them, the subjectivity comes in once you establish. See, at least my way of thinking, if you apply power ratings based on objective criteria that shows not necessarily the potential, but the results, regardless of the potential. Doesn't matter how much potential you have if you exceed or fall below that. Most teams will not play to their potential at all during the season. They'll either be a little above, a lot above, a little below, or a little below. But when I use power ratings, I don't put any subjectivity into the development of the power ratings. I put subjectivity into the use of the power ratings once I have them. In other words, the numbers say, the results say A, B, C, D, E. Okay? Now, that's when you would use some of the results, say, yeah, but this team did so and so and so. And so maybe, in other words, like you have disagreement with me, or at least you did, maybe not so much now, ranking the Rams number 1 and Seattle number 2. You have disagreements with me on Indianapolis number 3 and Houston number 4, and I can understand that. But that's what the numbers that I apply consistently. I don't make exceptions. I might say, well, they rate this high because of A, B, or C. That's the handicapping part of it. But it's the development of the power range, which basically says, and I think in most cases it's unlike the line, because the line is developed to technically or theoretically split action, even though there may be an opinion that they'd like to put in there. In other words, if we made the Chiefs 4 over Dallas, we know money would come in on Dallas. If we made the Chiefs 1 over Dallas, we know that money would come in on Kansas City. Okay,
right.
But at 2.5 or 3 or 3.5, even, it's going to float back and forth often between those numbers. But that doesn't mean that there's a 3-point difference between these teams. But when I see what my power ratings are, like Houston and Indianapolis, if I were to rate the teams on the eye test or the overall, take the numbers out of it, just how they play, and taking into account perhaps even some of the things you say about what do you call it? When you reach a situation where you start to factor in pluses and minuses for situations. That's a little bit different. So I could if I were to rate it, I'd probably have the Rams number 1. I don't know who I would have number 2. I don't know that I would have Philadelphia much higher than number 8 because of the way that they've played, even though I know they are better. I think I rate Denver better than a lot of people do because the concerns of Bo Nix, but the defense compensates for a lot of that. I'd probably have Detroit rated a little bit higher. I don't know that I would have Indianapolis as high or Houston as high, but I might have them not that much lower. But then again, that's the interpretation of where I would use the number. I use the numbers to say, everything being even, if these teams play to their potential, Indianapolis would beat Houston by 1.25 playing at home.
Right.
And if we're in Houston, I would have I'd still have Indianapolis winning by about 0.4 because I actually have Houston with a negative home field advantage.
Really? Okay.
I have Seattle with a negative home field advantage.
They have not played well at home.
Well, compared to how they play on the road.
Right.
I look at it, and I think I've explained this before. Because it's difficult to equate quality of competition. You may play a much more difficult schedule at home than you do on the road. By the way, are you reading what Evan is saying there? Evan, you are not one of the you are not one of those 2 no pick.
Evan asking.
He just asked that. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 people no picked.
You know what I'm going to do right now? Well, I can probably extend it a few more minutes than I thought. I am going to go into. Let me see if he's watching. Let me see here. Hold on. I'm going to go in here.
So breakdown. 10 people picked the Bengals. How about that? what gumption?
Now the only thought I can have there is they have multiple tickets. Okay. And they figure by beating the they may have some tickets on a couple of tickets on the Ravens and on the Bengals, and by putting a couple of tickets on the Bengals, if the Bengals happen to win, 269, including maybe 1 or 2 of their tickets, are eliminated.
Yeah,
well, it's all part of game theory. Let me see what happens now.
Well, two people are knocked out, so 898 left.
Okay. Let me see if you can. I don't know if you can see this on the screen.
I can see a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
What does it say?
Evans Gaming.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm going to go to contests. Let's see if you can see what that says here.
It says Circus Survivor 2025. Thanksgiving picks closed.
Right. Now I'm going to go to entry 1. Leg 13. I hope Evan's watching this.
I think you checked too.
What does
Eagles,
it say?
It's the Eagles. Yeah.
Pending.
Eagles, pending.
Yeah. I know. I just checked. Okay.
That's funny.
Okay. Just let you know.
One of the people who took Bengals has 4 entries. He has 1 Bengals, 2 Bears, 1 Cowboys. Okay. Well, it's still a weird situation to be in if you're just going to burn one of them on the Bengals, unless he really thinks they're going to win. So, yeah.
Yeah. See, again, if you got 4 entries, I can understand you playing 1 on the Bengals, 7-point dogs on the road, 1 on the Bears, 7-point dogs on the road.
Yeah.
Cowboys and Chiefs seems to be more competitive. But I don't know how you can't play one of those on either the Chargers or the Seahawks. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's right. We're going to this is Thursday and Friday. I'm surprised
2 on the Bears, 2 on the Bears, 1 Bengals, 1 Cowboys, all dogs.
Yet nobody on the home Lions. You got 13 on the Bengals on the road and 10 on the Bengals on the road and 13 on the Lions at home.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really crazy.
78 on the Chiefs. Well, look, we know that either 13 or 3 are going to be eliminated in the first game.
Yeah.
Either 78 or 8 will be eliminated in the second game. Either 269 or 10 are going to be eliminated in the third game, and either 28 or 489 are going to be eliminated in the Friday game.
Yeah, probably didn't have the faves available. Like in all 4 entries, though. I guess he didn't game plan ahead of time.
Yeah,
Huh?
then they did a poor job of.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have thought that if you were going to pick, if you were going to save it, the Eagles would have been one of the teams you would have saved as the season developed, notwithstanding the Bears winning. But I think the Eagles still figured to be a popular choice, especially since they'd be playing home. I think the Lions would have been a popular choice to save. The Chiefs would have been a popular choice to save because they also play on Christmas. So Cowboys, I think. See, normally they play a team like the Giants or the Washingtons on Thanksgiving. This year they knew they were going to play the Chiefs, so we didn't know that the Chiefs would struggle. But look at the Chiefs was 78-8. So yeah, minimum 51 people out. Yeah, if the Packers, Cowboys, Bengals, and Bears get eliminated, yeah, that's 28, 38, 46, 49 plus the 2 no picks, 51. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All you need is all you need, and I'm hoping for Evan, it's not the Eagles, but the Ravens get knocked out. That's a little bit under a third of the field.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be best case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ravens and Chiefs get knocked out, and not a big difference in the line between Bears and Packers, but still.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be best case scenario there. So we're Team Evan here, rooting for him. Okay, yeah, that's crazy. 2 no picks. Guess they forgot about the Thanksgiving slate.
Or they may have thought that even though it's been well publicized, that the deadline for submitting the picks may have been tomorrow morning, which I don't understand why it wasn't. But
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
Well, only because you can't bet them before Wednesday. You can't submit them.
Right.
And sometimes you want to take an extra, 48 hours. I mean, I couldn't understand why the Westgate waited until like 4:00 in the afternoon to put their lines out today. Circa had theirs out at 10 a.m. in the morning.
Says the person with 7 took 5 Ravens, 1 Cowboys, 1 Bengals.
That's not a bad distribution.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Well, you're going to have at least 1 ticket live.
Right. 1 Cowboys is weird, but yeah, I get 5 and 1.
Yeah. I can understand playing the. I mean, look, no one would have thought the Chiefs would be 6-5 coming into this game.
That's
8-3, possibly 9-2.
Right. Yeah, we agree.
And the Cowboys have, I forget what their season win total was. Let me see if I can find it. I want to say 7.5.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on when that was.
Where and when, but I'm going to go with early to midsummer, 7.5 even money back in late June, early July, I think it was.
Well, they're getting close, so they have a chance to go over.
I think that they have. Hold on a second while I get my camera back on here. They're 5-5-1. They got a chance. They've shown some improvements, so they've got a chance. They're not out of the playoffs, but they've got a long road. But to basically say that they have a similar record to the Chiefs at this point of the year. Well, again, 7.5 wins, and they're at 5.5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Although actually the tie doesn't count.
Right.
So they got to go 3-3 to hit 8-1. So
yeah. Right. Okay. Let's.
So wrapping up that Charger Vegas game. Not sure if I will be using the Chargers in the contest. It probably depends on if I make a decision before tomorrow morning where I may be using. I don't have the contest numbers in front of me right now. What are the Lions and the Chiefs? Do you have those numbers? I didn't bring my sheets in.
Lions and the Chiefs are which contests were you?
Either of them, Circa and Westgate.
Lions are -2.5 in the Circa, -3 at the Westgate, and the Chiefs are -3.5 in the Circa and -3 in the Westgate. So
I might very well play even though I like to have half points. I don't want the 3.5. I'd rather have the 3 and get the push if it lands 3. So I'll probably play. I may very well play the Westgate ticket using the Lions and the Chiefs.
Yeah, and it's a new 3-week contest and 6-week contest.
Yes,
in the Westgate.
The last 6-week contest and the second to last 3-week contest.
Yeah. This means a lot this week. So
yeah, so the person who had the 7 tickets and did 5 Ravens, which I think the Eagles were the most popular choice.
Right. I wonder if he had any Eagles available.
What's that?
I wonder if he had Eagles available for any of his tickets.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe
he may be saving him for. I think is it the Eagles? I think don't they play Washington
they play Washington
2
twice
times
in
in
the
the last
Raiders
3 weeks?
and the Raiders too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, yeah. I think they play. Don't they play at Washington? Then they
Mhm.
or no, at Washington, and then host the Raiders and host Washington again, or maybe it's the other way around with Washington.
It's Buffalo's in between of the 2 Washington games. The Raiders
Okay,
are
then
week 15.
oh, because that's before. So 1876. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's the week before the first Washington game.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So, all right. Let's. We've.
which is not a bad strategy. I mean, we didn't know that the Eagles would sort of be faltering a little bit, but to have like the defending Super Bowl champion, and we all know about the Super Bowl champions that like, with the runner-ups that always struggle, but to have a team that is one of the favorites to make the Super Bowl available this late in the season is a good strategy.
Yeah, it's true. Then again,
If you don't mind using some lesser teams earlier in the season.
Yeah. Well, the Redskins could have Jane Daniels back for those games, so that kind of throws a.
Well, that's if they don't shut him down for the year.
Right. Yeah, that's true. They did say that they expect him to play again this year, but I got to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, not this week though. They're thinking maybe next week. Right. What is it? Minnesota, I believe, next week.
Let me see. Let's see. They're at Minnesota, then at the Giants.
Right.
And then Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles. So last 4 games are all divisional for Washington.
Yeah.
All right. So we have 2 more games left to go. Denver at Washington. I'm kind of surprised this line is moving toward Washington. Denver's -5.5 because I thought this line was low to begin with. Given that Denver is coming off a bye now, it is win off before a bye, so kind of have to wonder how focused they'll be, given that they've been hearing about how great they are for 2 weeks after beating the Chiefs. This is a game where you kind of have to wonder if Denver's going to take Washington seriously. This is certainly not a divisional game. But then again, they play the Raiders next week, so not really look ahead. Maybe.
Well, not only that, but I mean, even if you don't take them seriously, your talent can overcome your lack of motivation.
Sure. Yeah, but then
compared
again,
to the opponent that you're playing with the defense that
but then again,
Washington has.
Then again, they only beat the Jets 13-11. They only beat the Raiders 10-7. This is a team that's been.
I'm not concerned as much about the Jet game because they were coming back from Europe, and they not only had to travel to New York to get back in the country, they had to travel 4 or 5 hours to get over to Denver.
Well, that was the Giants game.
A little bit of a.
That was the
Giants game.
Yeah, that was the Giants game you're thinking of. Like, this is the Jets.
Oh no,
game
right. They played in London, the Jets, so they still had to come back, right. And then that explained the slow start against the Giants, and then maybe conditioning helped them in the fourth quarter when they made that comeback. But I'm not. They also were coming off that win at Philadelphia when they played the Jets and had to go overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I mean, not great spots. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So I would still side with Denver here, but I would exercise caution given that they are coming. This is a bad spot for Denver, given that they beat the Chiefs previously and they've had some time to think about it. And Washington. But then
again, the other thing is whatever injuries they had also had a chance to heal.
Yeah, Surtain was limited today, so and for Washington, this matchup is just so brutal. Again, their offense against Denver's defense, Mariota against the top 5 defense.
Well, it really comes down to how Bo Nix will play.
Yeah. Because
the Denver defense, I don't think you have to really worry about. They're going to contain Mariota and the Washington offense to some extent. It's all going to, in other words, let's put it this way: Denver might allow a touchdown and 2 field goals, so Washington gets 13 points.
Mm-hmm.
Can Bo Nix lead, unless the defense contributes, can Bo Nix lead the Broncos to 20?
It could be RJ Harvey leading the Broncos here because, like I said, Washington's linebackers are so slow.
Yeah.
And RJ Harvey is one of the fastest running backs in the NFL. So it's like the Devon Achane matchup that they had in Spain. I feel like Washington just is not going to be able to deal with Harvey when he breaks to the outside, and he could have some big runs. So I if I had to bet this game, it would be Denver. But given the bad situation, probably lay off this game. What do you think here?
Well, I like yards per play.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive yards per play. Number 1, Denver, 4.4 yards allowed per play.
Yep.
Washington, number 32, 6.3. That's 2 full yards per play that they allow more.
That's crazy.
I mean, I can never recall something. I mean, sure, it's happened, but I don't remember week 13 of the 2017 season or whatever when it may have occurred. I mean, that's as large a discrepancy between 1 and 32, and they're matching up against each other. Denver also not that bad as far as offense goes. The Washington does have the edge there, but it's very, very slight. Washington's strength is running the football. They average 5.0 yards per carry. Denver allows just 3.6. So that's a huge edge when you compare Denver gaining 4.6, but allowing a yard more than Washington allows at 3.6 versus 4.7. Washington slightly edge in passing offense, again, at yards per completion, but that's more than set off by Denver's edge on the defensive side of the football. So unless Denver is totally out of sorts, and I would think they want to, after having a bye week, I think they're sort of looking. When you're 9-2, you're kind of looking forward to getting back on the field. Let's get to 10-2. Let's strengthen our lead over. Now, of course, that'll be the night game. So let's either keep pace or extend our lead over the Chargers and or Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to play it, but at the very least, I would be teasing Denver down.
Yeah, that seems like a good strategy here. Okay, yeah, we had Mike saying Happy Thanksgiving, Mundo. Happy Thanksgiving to Walt and Andy. Thankful for all you do for us.
Thank you, and Happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners and viewers.
Yeah, I'm thankful for all you guys being in the chat with us every week, and it is awesome to interact with everyone. It's really fun. All right, we have one more game left. I know we're at the top of the hour here.
Yeah, we can go a few extra minutes.
Okay, yeah, Giants at Patriots. Patriots are minus.
I've gone at least. I've gone without a snack for 3 hours before.
All right, Patriots are minus 7.5. The big story here, a couple of things. Will Campbell is going to be out, as well as their left guard. Left guard Jared Wilson, not that good, so not a big deal. But Will Campbell was fantastic this year. He's really going to be missed. Luckily, the Patriots still have the right tackle. And I say that because Morgan Moses got hurt as well in that Cincinnati game, but he re-entered the lineup after missing a few snaps. And the Giants, they're going to get Jackson Dart back. We have not seen a practice report yet because they haven't.
Is that definite or?
Well, it sounds
has he been cleared way. Has he been cleared from concussion protocol?
No, but I assume that it sounds like it sounds like they're going to clear him. But you never know. Like I said, we haven't seen a practice report yet. So if he's full on Thursday, then that's going to be a good sign, and we'll see what happens by Saturday or Sunday. So, yeah.
When it comes to concussions, I really would not risk a player in meaningless games. If this were week 3, maybe, and you had a chance, but they're 2-10.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighting for a draft choice. Not that means anything, but the point is they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree.
He's your franchise. He's not like a Geno Smith coming in or a Russell Wilson coming in and has a concussion, and he's not the quarterback of the future. I mean, obviously you would want to treat everybody the same, but with Jackson Dart and with Mike McCarthy next year coaching him, Lane Kiffin possibly, since he's been rumored for every job. The Giants' job is going to be very attractive.
Oh, yeah.
When you got, Neighbors, and you got Scadaboo, and you got Dart, you got the defensive line that they have.
Top five draft pick, too.
Yeah. So, Giants will be a good team to inherit. I would not. And, you say, well, the player wants to play and all that, but you got to look out for the player's future. You got to look out for the team's future, especially the player. We already know he's had several concussions this year.
Yeah, exactly. He's been tested 4 times. I completely agree, Andy. I would not play him in this game, but it sounds like he's going to play. So, anyway, we'll see if that's true or not. If Jackson Dart is on the field.
And by the way, I don't mind having Jameis Winston in there.
Yeah, well, he's fun either way. He's fun.
Yeah.
If he's throwing touchdowns or he's throwing pick sixes.
Like I said last week, he keeps both teams in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's a fun guy, and he's talented. Sometimes he does try to do a little bit too much.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. He's great. So anyway,
not that either one of them is going to beat New England.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you have the
Covering
Patriots.
is one thing.
Right. The Patriots without their left tackle against a Giants pass rush that's really good. I mean, they have really talented
Well, they'll
players
run the
in
ball
the
more. New England will run the ball more.
Yeah,
They got a couple of good running backs.
Giants' run defense is abysmal for sure. The Patriots,
In
they
fact,
are.
how abysmal? Giants are number 32, 157 yards per game. And
Yeah.
let me see what it is on a yards per rush. It is 5.9. Again, the average is 4.3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think the Patriots have handled mobile quarterbacks that well either. So Jackson Dart, if he plays, he can run. And
But how mobile will he be? How mobile will they let him be?
I think if he plays, there are not going to be any limitations. I think if they
I
want to
would
play
think they
safe,
say if it looks like you're going to get sacked, throw it away.
Well, they tell him one thing and then he's going to do another because he's a competitive guy. So
well, yeah, but if they'll pull him from the game if he does that.
well, then they should just not play him. Like if they're going to limit
that's
him,
true.
why
And
play him?
maybe and then when he gets sacked 3 times and he enters the 10th again,
yeah,
you'll realize it.
Sure.
So Patriots, they can do some damage.
Yeah, they can.
They're basically average as far as defensive pressure goes, aren't they?
Yeah, they're somewhat decent pass rush here.
Somewhere between 13 and 17, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean, remember they've had an easy schedule too, so it's kind of like.
Well, it is just as easy here.
Yeah, I know. Just saying that once they go against real teams,
Well, they're not going. Yeah, but they're not going up against the Rams.
I know. But still, we're talking about them covering the 7.5.
Yeah.
Here.
No, I'm just talking about the pressuring. For Jackson Dart.
Yeah. So Jackson Dart can at least get out of it, and theoretically, if they allow him to. I think Jackson Dart has shown that he can keep games close and keep games competitive. For the most part, it's what he's done.
Yeah.
And so I would be inclined to take the Giants with the points, even though the public is all over the Giants. You never want. It's like
all over the Giants or all over the Patriots.
Yeah, the public is all over the Giants. It's right now it says 79%. Yeah, the public is all over the Giants. So, you never want. It's so many points. I guess Jackson Dart's coming back. I don't know. The Giants
have they not watched New England this year?
Well, maybe they watched the New England team that didn't cover against the Bengals. I don't know.
No, they didn't cover in the last minute. But I mean, all year, what's their record against the spread?
I mean, it's pretty great, but I don't know. And the narrative is that the Patriots lost their left tackle too. So
8-4-0 against the spread, covering and they cover by an average of 9.7 points per game.
Right.
In those 8 covers.
Yeah, I mean they've been really good, but without their left tackle, suddenly their offense is gonna be worse. So
we think it might be worse. Remember, they are replacing a rookie, as good as that rookie is.
Right.
So they're replacing him with experience.
Yeah, and I mean it's not.
And by the way, the Giants are equivalent, if not weaker, than most of the teams that the Patriots have handled this year in their 10 wins.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe that one of their losses was to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I know. In week 1, yeah. That's why I throw week 1 away, Andy.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, right. If you want proof, there you go.
No, but I mean, when you've won 10 games against NFL competition, and like I say, their average win, New England, is 10.6 points per game. Mm-hmm. That to do that against 10 NFL teams of varying degrees, even though more of them may be below average than above average, and you're facing one of the weaker teams in the league right now that's 2-10. That's why I find it hard to believe that people are playing the Giants plus the points that much. I could understand, if it's like 53-47, okay, but what'd you say it was?
It's like 79-21.
Now what's that based on? Bets? Dollar volume?
I
hope it's dollar volume.
Bets is
not number of tickets.
Sorry, bets is 78%. So that's tickets 78%. Dollar is 74%.
74% on dollar?
Yes.
That's still
so slightly
huge.
Less. Yeah.
What's the highest number on the board for money?
Let's look. Steelers 84%. Then Dolphins 82%. Then Cowboys 78%. Then Denver
Who'd you say
77%.
second one was the Steelers?
Steelers are first.
Oh, okay.
Then the Dolphins. Then the
Now,
Cowboys.
where are you getting? Where's this information from? Which site?
This right. I'm looking at Action Network for this. I could look at Wager Talk and.
Now are they including tickets above $100? Because I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that the big bettors are running there at a 79% or 74% clip to bet the Steelers, or whoever it was, the Giants, whatever.
Yeah, it seems weird. I don't know if I completely trust this.
I mean, for example, and I'll go to the game that you and I think disagreed on. You like Indianapolis, I like Houston. I can understand Houston being a popular underdog. They're a good team with a good defense going on the road, playing a division rival that is sort of new to the experience. So I can understand some when I say favoritism, popularity of Houston. I could somewhat see it even with Chicago, because all they do is they keep winning, even though it may not be pretty. They're covering point spreads. They're making money for people. But to be going with a 2-10 team at such a high rate, that seems, unless they know the officials doing the game and they like that shiny new car
I don't know.
Driving. I don't want to lead anyone there, but no. The point is that it's hard to say. What's the money split in the Atlanta Jets game?
Let's see. The tickets 66% on Atlanta. Money is 54% on Atlanta.
Okay. How about the first two games tomorrow? Green Bay, Detroit, because that should be a fairly. I think the first two games should be fairly. I would think no higher than 55, 56% either way.
You nailed it exactly. Lions tickets 56%, money 54%, and then Chiefs Cowboys are where is this? Let me just order by schedule here. Chiefs Cowboys 65% tickets, 78% money.
That is surprising.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that's all based on that one game against Philadelphia.
I think it might be in the
recency
Chiefs,
bias.
Yeah, the Chiefs people are kind of off the Chiefs bandwagon, you know.
Well, again, that may also be, and we don't know when those bets were made, but it also might be -3.5.
That's true. Yeah,
I could understand that. With Detroit, it's either 2.5 or 3. With Kansas City, it's either 3 or 3.5.
Right.
So I could understand that, but let me see. Are there any other competitive? How about New Orleans, Miami?
Miami 70% of the tickets, 82% of the money.
Okay, that's a favorite. See, that almost tells me that those are smaller bettors comprising those numbers.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. That's probably.
And the line did move down from 6 to 5.5. So
it had to be some money in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be just a whale or something on the Saints or something.
Yeah. Maybe a Benson's widow or something like that.
Exactly.
She's got plenty of money to play with.
Yeah, of course.
All those car dealerships.
Yeah, that's true.
How about Jacksonville, Tennessee?
Jacksonville, Tennessee. 63% of the tickets on Jacksonville, 69% of the money on Jacksonville.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because it seems like some of these underdogs are taking the vast majority of the money. And you got Jacksonville, maybe one of the weaker teams playing on the road, laying nearly a touchdown.
Yeah, I just don't see people eager to bet Tennessee,
No, in fact, what's the? I think I did one of my write-ups today. Who was it I was going against? I think it was Carolina.
Okay.
No, I'm trying to think. Was it because I think they are in their. Where is it here? In their 6 losses, they've averaged losing by 17 points per game, which I believe is the largest margin in the league as far as losses are concerned. But I wanted to say I was looking somewhere else as far as how often they miss. Okay, Okay. Here's I think what it was, and I think this was the worst number. It's also Carolina. They are 7-5 against the spread, but in those 5 losses, they are falling short of the spread by 15.7 points per game per loss, which is the worst in the league. Compare that to let me see what the best in the league is.
I mean,
Looks like it's Seattle, 8-3. No, sorry, it's actually Denver. Denver is they're 5-6 against the spread. Well, when they miss covering the spread, it's only by minus 3.6 points away from the spread.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which explains why, by the way, Denver, I believe, is 10-1 in teasers.
Okay,
this year.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, and they in the 3 games they covered the spread, they obviously, or the 5 games they covered the spread, they obviously covered the teaser. And if in the 6 games that they didn't cover the spread, the average amount by which they're missing is 3.6. If the average were 6.0, they'd be pushing those games. But with the margins of 3.6, a number of those games, and apparently it's 5 out of 6 of those games, they would have also covered in the teaser.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's it's interesting here. So
yeah, so I lean a little bit to New England, but not very much. I just it's a game I'll watch without any financial interest. Maybe tease New England down because of where it's at. Again, you're teasing them down to under 2.
Yeah, it's a fantastic teaser number. I agree with that. So, all right, that's about it for this show.
Yeah.
Only 16 minutes past our deadline here, so
bad.
not too bad. Andy, do you want to mention thelogicalapproach.com one more time?
Thelogicalapproach.com. I have not yet had a chance to put up the spreadsheet or the power ratings for this week. I will try and get to that sometime tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll probably be during the playing of the first game, because by that time I'll have put in all the contest plays for my clients for the Lions game and the Packers game. So I'll have some time to catch up on some of that, and so they can take a look at that, and they can take a look. In fact, I want to, right after we're done, I'm going to send out the newsletter to you where last week I started talking about totals in the NFL, and this is part 2 of that with some numbers as far as looking at basically, I look to see that that about 60%, about 2/3, 66% of the time, totals fall on a number outside the range that's used to set 80% of the totals. In other words, let's say, and I go back, I show it for the year since 2002, and then I show a 6-year study. 2019 to 2024, and 2022 to 2024, 3 seasons, and then just 2024, and then I add in this season what it is, and I take a look at. In other words, let's say the lowest line that the lowest line that they set a total at, let's say is 35, okay, and the highest number, let's say, is 57, okay. So I take 10% above the 35. As far as the number of games, and 10% the number of 57, and that's my 80% range. So let's use simple numbers. Let's say there are 500 games in the sample. Okay, so I would take, I'd move up. What's the total that comes closest to where the totals that set is 50 is 10% or 50 totals below. So let's say I come up with 53 games, and that total is 38.0. Okay, meaning that the line, 10% of the lines are for totals are below 37.5, if that's the number I said. Okay, I do the same thing at the other end. So let's say 57 is the extreme. So let's say it's 52. And let's say there are 48 games, which is very close to 50. Okay, that's it. In other words, let's say if I move it a half point move it a half point up, it goes from 48 to 58. 50 is closer to 48, so I use the 48 number. So let's say that number, for the extreme being 57, let's say that number is 51.5.
Okay.
So what that tells me is that 80% of the total lines that are set between 37.5 and 51.5. Okay.
Right.
Yet 66% of all games fall either under 37 and it's 37 points or less, 58 points or more.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Meaning that totals have you some opportunities. And the reason being is that you can't set totals low enough for what the lowest games are going to present. And you can never set the total high enough because it's the number of points that can be scored is theoretically unlimited.
Right.
So you look for situations, whether it be pace of game, number of plays run, quality of offense and defense, where they match up, where, two good offenses meet two poor defenses or vice versa. And you say, okay, maybe those are the games that'll fall outside of that 80% range that the lines maker uses.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You see super low scoring games all the time and super high scoring games. The lines are never too low or too high. So
yeah,
that's
I have never done the study, but it's easy for me to do. I mean, I haven't done it in years. If you play under the lowest total on the board and over the highest total on the board each week, and I can do that.
Yeah.
Because I keep my database for each record says, what week of the season it is, in addition to what game it is. So I can go back and check, okay, what was the highest total in week number 1, and did that game go over or under? Actually, it doesn't go under. Did it go over or stay under? It starts under, it stays under, unless or until it goes over. But in any event, there I am being an asshole again with that sort of stuff. But I haven't hit my quota for the day yet. But nevertheless, and same thing, if you play under the lowest total, let's say the lowest total of the day is 37, did that game stay under or over?
Right.
And I seem to think, at least for a number of years, and I don't remember exactly what the years were, it was profitable by doing that, because you could never say now. Of course, you have to hope that the total that is the lowest on the board is the one that stays under.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
right.
But and the one that is the highest total goes over, and that's just something that. So anyway, so you'll see that probably about half an hour.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, look forward to reading it. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit walterfootball.com for tons of content, free stuff as usual. And we'll be back tomorrow after the last game, about 20 minutes or so afterward with Evan, and then Friday with Tom. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
So what time will you think you'll be starting tomorrow night? Roughly
20 minutes after the last game is over.
So the game will usually it starts about 8 o'clock Eastern. So you're talking probably 11:30, 11:45.
Yeah, 11:45, 11:50. Yeah, I'll send you.
So tell everybody from the turkey to take their naps between like 6 and 8 p.m.
Yeah,
So they'll be a week later they'll be awake after the game.
Exactly. So yeah. All right, guys. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Happy holidays, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow, and have a great night. And I'll talk to you then.